this. Yeah, there we are, dude.
All right, it is shared to my 2 fans. I'm just kidding.
You got your 2 fans.
Got a decent following as of lately, actually.
Okay, we are good.
We are in the pocket.
We're good. 2.
You're good, Nick.
Go. Resizing. All right, so we'll share this link. Story. There we go, dude. We got the link and everything.
All right. That's the money. That is the money.
Yes. Bam. Okay, dude.
Okay. Doug.
There, I just shared that with the link.
Yeah, I'll reshare that one. I think it'll be more practical.
Yes. All right, here we go.
All right, are we on the live at the moment?
We're actually live right now, yes.
We've been live this whole time while they're watching me mess with my phone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Nicky Free Podcast. We are back in the studio, the new studio here. And we have powerlifter Zachary Hall, Zachary
Yes.
Nathaniel Hall.
That is I.
And Zach, how are you, dude?
I am blessed to be here and in general, of course.
Yes, sir.
I am in good spirits today.
Oh,
How are
yeah.
you, my friend? It's been a long time.
It has been. How long has it been?
Honestly, I think it was like springtime since I last saw you.
Right,
it was
right.
10 videos ago, but you've been not out inconsistent as well, so it's been a
No,
while.
no, I haven't been able to put any out here. Hold on. Everything is.
I poked her.
Yeah, it's all right. Of course, we'll have, technical difficulties.
That's all right. That's to be
In
expected.
the new studio, so that's all right. That keeps us on our toes, dude. So,
It does.
no, dude, I've been good. So I've just moved into my new place, and I've been personal training. So I started coaching clients, which is kind of why the podcast has been down for a little bit, because we had to. I had to move and everything, and then get resituated here. So I figured, I think actually what happened was I messaged you one time when I was like on mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I just, psilocybin I think is pretty cool. And I had just tried it. I haven't been using it at all recently, but when I did try it, it was pretty awesome.
We've tried it a few times.
Yeah, I did have it with you one time on the pod.
Mostly sober now, for the record.
Yeah, just for the record, we're not on anything right now.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Great stuff.
It's crazy good stuff, dude.
Sorry to cut you off, but I was going to ask about your training, because last I talked to you, you just started getting a client or two, and I'm really excited to hear how it's going, dude.
Well, I'll tell you, it's going a lot better. When you start out, you're kind of, you'll kind of take anybody you can, or you think you don't know your value yet. And then one time it just kind of hit me. I was like, oh, actually I have a lot of knowledge and value I can offer these people. Like you realize like you've been lifting for over 20 years, and all of a sudden and then it just starts clicking a little bit, which you always want to be, I think, self-critical though, because you want to be good. So you don't ever want to get like where you think, oh, I know everything, which is just, that's not how I am anyway. But I'll say like the mistakes I made at first were just taking anybody. Like I was taking clients like that I probably shouldn't have. You know what I mean? Like
I've taken a lot that I probably shouldn't, especially in the beginning. Like you said, I coached a lot of people for free because you don't have that word of mouth. But once you get it, like it really picks up.
I did that
Slow
too.
at the start,
I made
first
some
kinda-
mistakes with giving people deals and stuff because they're in it's like, oh, then you can't.
Those people end up being the flakers. They slack off because they got no skin in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that too. Like the least problematic clients you have are the ones who are the most consistent. They're happy to pay. They're happy to be there. They show up. They're usually training like 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
The problem ones are like the ones that always like they want a deal. They never want to be there. They always feel like they're I don't know. It's interesting.
They don't value it.
I think that's like the rule of business though. Like what is that? Like 80% of you make like 80% of your profits from like 20% of your best clients or something like that.
For sure. And they say it's always best to upsell a current client than to get a new one, kind of thing.
Yeah, so. And I'm lucky now because I have this base of clients who are like repeated customers, and they just are very consistent. And then they are the ones that are starting to make, which you've seen this a bunch, I'm sure. When you start seeing people make progress, they really like, it's crazy. I don't know, they're like so surprised. Even some people that don't want to necessarily get in crazy good shape, but they just like are so surprised how good they feel from moving.
Yeah, and their quality of life, that's the biggest
thing.
Like
all of a sudden she's like, oh, my shoulder feels better, or this, and it's like, yeah, or like, I'll get like, I went to the massage therapist and they said my back is way less stressed out or less tight right now, and it's like, because human beings are meant to move.
Yeah, we are pretty regularly. I have a lot of older female clients, and they're the most rewarding. And when I started coaching, I told myself, like, I want to coach pros. I want to have fun with the big guys, but they're not rewarding to coach because they don't get as much value out of it as the different demographic.
You're right, 100%.
I have one woman I just started with a couple months ago, and she said she's hiked for a few miles with no back pain anymore, no knee pain, and I feel so blessed because, like, I brought that to her.
That's huge, right?
I gave that to her.
Yeah, one of my friend's moms was trained with me for a while because that was her thing, was like, they're big whale watchers, so she wanted to be able to like get on and off the boat. So we worked on her knees a lot.
And people forget that quality of life, like getting in and out of, like, that seems so insignificant, but it goes away.
Right. So there's like a lot of us, we're lifting because we want to look sexy, right? Like there's that, you want to look good, but then we forget about, like, there's a lot of people that they do not care about that. They just want to feel good again. They want quality of life, so their bodies move and then they start feeling better.
Yeah, try and take their body back. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and some of them, I don't know, certain clients have different reasons why, right? So like some of them will be like, I saw my mom get really old and her quality of life started going down, and I just don't want to be like that. So that's their why. And then a little bit later, it's like, now she's doing deadlifts and she's like, oh, my husband says my butt looks good. It's an unintended consequence. Like I've been finding that a lot. Like you're like kind of rekindling relationships a little bit, because like they're like,
you're healing people, and then they heal. And
they feel better, so of course then they feel better about themselves, and
you bring that to people. I think personal training and a lot of service industries we're healing people, man. It's so significant. It seems so small. You teach people to lift weights, but you teach people to overcome discipline, get their health back. Yeah. It's just, we're healers, dude. That's so awesome.
And it's like medicine for you, right?
It's medicine even more for me, dude. My life is so much better when people tell me that they have gained from working with me.
Because people always look for that thing, like, what's going to make me feel better? What's going to make me... And it's like actually service to other people, which
that is the
weird.
Most fulfilling, dude, by far.
It's like, why is that? It's so... Because, like, you want to be selfish and, like, me. It's like... one way to make yourself feel better is helping other people.
I think so.
So weird.
I think a big reason is because we have a lot of higher expectations from ourselves. We're willing to let ourselves down and everything like that. And we're also not as satisfied with the things that we accomplish as we are for other people.
Yes.
Like if you told me you pulled X PR, I'd be so excited. But if I PR'd, I'd be like, oh, no,
that wasn't good enough.
Wasn't good enough, So
that's one of the things, like they say we talk to ourselves so shitty. Like there was like that actor that was talking about, he's like, yeah, I talk to my friends. He's like, the way I talk to myself, I would never talk to my friends.
Yeah. Somebody said something like that. I think it might have been the same guy who said, if you take your inner dialogue and imagine you're saying it about somebody else, or a friend is saying it to you, you think it's really rude.
Oh, I know. It's like, so you're really just an asshole to yourself.
Yeah.
It's like,
you're just beating yourself
so
down.
Yeah, you got to learn to try to, because I always tell my clients that too, like, especially if they're on meal plans or something, it's like, so if you screw up, like, first thing to do, forgive yourself. Because, like, you'll just beat yourself up over it. And then you'll try to do, like, extra cardio to make up for it. And I'm always like, don't do that. Just calm down. Don't make it worse.
Yeah.
Like, because that's one thing with, like, a meal plan. Like, oh, I fucked up my diet, so now I'll just go crazy the rest of the day.
I do it sometimes.
Oh, dude, I've totally... There was a skit on... it was that one dude, I think his name is Isaiah... a younger kid. He's popular on social media, but he does really funny skits with this dude, Mark Harley, who's like an older guy. They do such funny skits, but they had one where he's like, you know, it was like right after his show, and so Mark sees him in the grocery store, and he's like, "Hey, Isaiah," and he's like, "Oh, hey," and he's like trying to hide his cart, you know, and like he hides it, and finally like he sees it's full of, like Pop-Tarts, and like, you know, cookies, all the like worst cheat day stuff, the stuff you want like after you've depleted yourself, you know, and he thinks like his friend is gonna judge him, and he's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Cheat day," and he's like, "Can I join you?" And he's like, "Yeah." So then they both. I'm like, so we've all been there before. I think that's you just got to be careful with that stuff, dude. That snowballs.
Tough. Yeah. And your mindset, your mental relationship with food is something that's what that is. Essentially, is what kind of a relationship do you have with food, and that's a very bad relationship when people get stuck in the I failed and they indulge, and it's just when you're ricocheting like that, that means you have some sort of negative association with food. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that.
It is tough. I have a hard time with that because I have a friend who's a eating disorder specialist, and so like, you know, in that world, it might be a win to get somebody to eat a piece of cake without being like feeling like shit. Yeah. You know, so it's hard. So they have this thing like, we will not label any food as bad.
Yeah, there's no such thing as good or bad food.
Right, and I have a tough time with that though because of, you know, like we have our country's like almost 40% obesity rate, and then like, I get that, the idea of it, but then it's like, but we have these giant companies creating this like toxic food. Yeah. We're surrounded by it. So it's hard for me to be like, I can't label that as bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because it is like, you know, they're making these like super hyper palatable, chemically enhanced, like super addictive foods. Yeah. And it's got to be playing into our health issues.
It is. I think that's that whole discipline thing is we're enticing people and making it harder and harder to control yourselves. It's a trap.
It is a trap.
And when you start to indulge in food, you're going to indulge in other places. Like, I don't know if you listen to me post, but I post about like discipline being discipline. And if you're going to let yourself slack off on food, you're going to let yourself slack off on every other endeavor of self-control. And if there's one thing of self-control that you let go, like, I'm dieting, I'm good, I'm this, but I smoke weed all day, every fucking day. Well, that makes it harder for you to do everything else. It's the same thing. It's just different medium. So it's like food versus going to the gym versus doing drugs. It's all self-control. It's all the same principle.
Yes. So as a guy that maybe likes indulging in certain things, like how do you balance that kind of stuff?
I'm learning to do a lot better with it now, but I've been in a habit of being like the rebound dieter with food. I've had a negative association. And that's why at the beginning of the year, I went up to like 240, which I'm a 198 competitor. That's not good. Because I'll make a class.
How'd you feel at 240, dude?
You don't feel good. And it doesn't feel good to see your fat go over your belt and shit. That's just not a good feeling.
Did you feel like you were like strong though at the time?
I felt strong. I didn't feel bad because like fat for me is like, I had a little bit of a belly, but I didn't look like a fat person. I had muscle. Right. So it was a different look.
Because it's like if there was like a zombie apocalypse, you might want that. You might want that Zach. You know what I mean?
My cardio was okay. Like I did cardio. I just had a little fluff.
Yeah. It's like an aesthetic thing, right? Because I know I've been up to like 260 before in the past, and that was when I was wrestling. But you know, it didn't feel that bad. But it was like, even now I'm bulking for my show, and I'm like 236, and then like in the show I'll probably be like 206 or something. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It'd be dope to be like 260, but like just completely lean and jacked. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody
like,
here thinks that. That's for sure.
Everybody wants that, though. Yeah.
I'll take 200 lean and jacked at this point. Like that's my expectations.
You're close to that. So like, you're down a bunch of weight right now.
Yep.
Which part of that is intentional, right? Because you've been working on your diet, and you even said with somebody else, right?
Yep. I've got a buddy of mine. He was a friend of a client who was he's interested in getting his foot wet with meal prepping and coaching. So I asked if I could work with him for a little bit, and it's been pretty good. His name is Thaddeus, so if he's listening, shout out to him. I haven't met him in person, but he seems like a really stand-up guy, and he's brought me from 223 and a half to 209 I was today and yesterday.
Dude,
so it was like maybe 8 weeks or so. So I was losing about a pound a week, and it's been going really good.
You know what's crazy is like if you have weight to lose, how fast you actually can if you change your diet.
Yeah, I can drop. I think I may have dropped too fast because I've been hitting cardio hard because I can't lift. So like I need to
you
do
gotta
something.
be doing
I need
something.
to get that discipline going, or else it's just gonna stagnate.
And let's tell viewers, so like the reasons I can't lift is because you just had surgery on your shoulder.
We should offer that disclaimer. It's 3 months from Thursday. Tomorrow is 12 weeks post surgery. Rotator cuff tear. I had 2. So They said that I almost fully tore my supraspinatus off, and the infraspinatus was about halfway off. It's classified as severe. And they did a repair.
Dude, that's like the Undertaker. WWE.
Yeah,
he had all that spinatus stuff up going on.
It's the most. They say it's the most commonly torn tendon that they see, as the surgeon said.
How did you tear it?
There was 3 moments where I remember hearing it tear. The first one was I was taking a 315 bench for like a set of 4 or 5, and just on the 3rd rep, I heard something like Velcro, just lightly.
Yep.
And then it hurt a little bit, and then I was fine a few days later, and then I jumped up to do some pull-ups, and I hung down. I heard something again. A month and a half later, I started to feel better. I was benching. I worked up to 3 plates, and then I went down to 2 plates, 225. 3rd rep, I just came up, and it just came right back down. And that sounded like a full, like...
And that's when you knew for sure.
That's when I knew for sure. But I think I tore it sometime a year ago from today. I'd seen the doctors last December, and they did an x-ray and said, oh, you just stretched the tendon out. But I think that was negligent doctor work, because when a guy tells you he's benching over 300 pounds and here's a snap, then something probably tore. But either way, I went to PT for a few months, and then they finally decided that let's get an MRI and let's do the surgery. And they said, yep, the thing is almost fully fucking gone. And if this doctor told me this and gave me the MRI initially, I wouldn't have done those 3 incidences where it got worse. So I'm a little angry at Dr. John Pang at Virginia Mason, Linwood, wherever he is, calling this guy out. That upset me a little bit. But
well, you should. That's a fair thing.
I think I will accept some blame. I'm sure you're the same way. As I have a high pain tolerance, I don't really express myself clearly, so I'm fully sure that I gave him the impression that I felt fine. But after each of those moments, I could not lift my arm by myself. I had to do this. But I didn't really express that clearly to him, I don't think, because I'm a very much rub some dirt on it, I'm fine, I don't give a shit. Like, I trained through the thing. I did a meet with it before the surgery. Like,
I know, that's so bad, dude.
But I wouldn't have done all that stuff if they told me I tore it.
That's going back to, like, if I had a client that had even a slight injury, I'd be so careful with them.
You'll probably experience that, unfortunately, in the future.
You know what I'm saying? But if it was me, I'd be like, this going back to how we treat ourselves versus other people, like,
for sure.
I would just be like, work through it, don't be a bitch. Like, you know what I mean? It's like terrible.
Double on the shoulder. But we did the surgery. It went really well. It was minimally invasive, and I'm at the stage now where they're letting me lift a few pounds. I have mostly full function of the arm now.
Yeah.
It's a little bit shorter than my range on the other, but I can use the thing now. Like he said, at this point, it's attached.
Yep.
It's there. But
so it's there. So how long before you can really start working?
He said in 4 weeks I could start handling like a 45-pound barbell on the bench, and then he said progressing like 10 pounds from there. So as long as it doesn't hurt, he says it's fine, because if I hurt myself, I'll feel it. So I can just use pain as a guide. So I'd say in about 4 weeks you'll see me more regularly back in the shop and doing my thing.
So that's pretty exciting.
Dude, you can't tell you what it's been like. I'm so thankful that it happened, because it reconnected me with my love for the sport. Before I got hurt, I was done. I hated it.
I would even say last time you were here, you were a little bit like, not that you didn't love it, but I know it was kind of like, you didn't maybe.
I was bitter.
Yeah.
I think bitter is a good word, because I put unreal expectations on myself, and I have an ego in some capacity like everybody else, and I was definitely in the sport after a while to just be like the best and get a good number, and that's not really conducive to training hard when you're just in there for that. Like you have to be having fun, and being forced to step away made me get that itch back. And I'm like, dang, like, okay, I've released my need to want to be the best. I just want to lift weights for fun, and I don't know if I intend to compete in that sport again. But
there's something about having something taken away from you. You really want it back.
And then be a trainer and watch all your clients have fun doing it.
Well, that's what I mean. So like, if you're somebody that maybe you're losing a little bit of your passion for a thing, now take the thing away from you, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I want that back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then it kind of does, like, it makes you be like, oh, actually, I love this thing. And so it would reawaken your passion if you the threat of almost having it taken away.
You don't know what you have until it's gone, they say.
Then you really would appreciate it and be like, let's go.
But at first, it was tough. And that's why I didn't respond to you when you said you reached out to me a few months ago, because that was right around the cusp of the surgery. And it's really hard to have the one thing you attach your identity to.
Well, I think that's why I reached out to you, because I remember watching a video you were saying about you're about to have surgery, and I think in the thing I was like, "Hey, good luck with your surgery."
Yeah, you did, and then I responded, and then you responded.
And I was like, full disclosure, I'm on I think I was on like 6 squares of those fucking. Dude, I was like pushing it a little bit with those. I know. I was like, I think I like this a little too much. I was like, because about 1 or 2 or 3 of them is great. I was going like 6 or 9 of them.
That's bordering sometimes a bad time. It's Russian roulette with your emotions.
Yeah, sometimes it would go dark.
That's what happened to me my last trip. I had one about a month ago where I took 5 grams, and I was in a terrible fucking place.
Yeah, you know, the going dark was kind of interesting in a way, though, because I kept hearing, like, people who I've listened to who have done, you know, either used marijuana or talk about, like, don't believe the you know, like, so it's going to show you the negative stuff. So in one sense, it'll show you, like, I think the cool thing about mushrooms is they're kind of like teachers. So it's like, it will kind of show you, like, the beauty of yourself that you've never seen before. And it does that thing where it, like, resets your brain. So it kind of helps with, like, traumas and stuff. Because it'll kind of give you that neuroplasticity, like, wipe away. But then if you get, like, a negative one, you're kind of, like, looking at yourself from the worst case.
Yeah, I mean, like you said.
And so I would just kept telling myself, like, well, this isn't real.
Yeah.
So that was how I got through that. But I don't know why I was pushing it. I was like, I bought, it was funny because my friend Nicky came here. Shout out to Mick if he hears this. He came here to go to these Eddie Vedder concerts because he's, like, just this huge, like, Pearl Jam Eddie Vedder, just like fucking super fan, you know? Like, he's so funny because he's like, we go to the thing and he's buying all the merchandise and he's like, yeah, these are all these super fans here. And I'm like, that's you, dude.
Yeah,
like, you're just here early to buy these posters and shit. Like, what are you talking about? They're the super fan. Like, you're one of them, bro. And it was just funny because he asked for a couple of these, you know, chocolate bars with the mushrooms. And I'm like, sure, dude. So I, like, buy 3 of them. And I'm like, okay, 1 for me. I'll send 2 to my friend Mick. Those 3 were gone. I was like, I had to rebuy 2 more to send him home. I'm like, shit, bro, I ate your mushrooms. I'm sorry.
Nice.
But they were just so good, you know.
They are. I've been stepping away recently.
I'm off everything right now. Yeah, I mean,
I smoke cannabis, but I'm trying to free my body. I'm having a little caffeine right now, but for my viewers that are listening, I did not buy this, so it's allowed to the rules. I said I'm not going to buy. I'm not buy caffeine again.
I like to get my guests hopped up on caffeine.
But I'll accept generous gifts. So if you want to generously gift me energy drinks and marijuana, then I will humbly accept.
How does it feel being off caffeine? Because I know most of us.
I'm not off caffeine.
No, okay.
Not off caffeine.
I was gonna say, I'd say most of us in, like, the fitness world or whatever, we abuse caffeine.
It's the most popular drug, especially in our
pre-workouts. They're just
they do the trick. I definitely like stimulants, but I know that I am in excess. But I've been having a hard time, like, completely abstaining. So a good medium for me is to cut back by committing that I just won't purchase it myself.
So somebody else gets.
So any weed I grow, I guess I'll have, but I don't have any. Like, I've got, like, a few plants, but I don't have anything ready yet. And I have a few energy drinks left at home that I'm drinking. So I'm not off caffeine, and I will drink instant coffee at home. That's fine. But I know that I'm drinking significantly less than I was when I was freely, like, going out and doing that.
Yeah, dude.
But
so
it's been good.
I would say it's kind of like a lot of the stuff that you do is kind of like managing dopamine. I know we've talked about that before, but even where, like, you're like, hey, in your life, if you're disciplined, that means everything. So, like, even like if you're just smoking way too much weed, so it's not like you're saying, like, don't ever do these things, but they are gonna suck you in more and more.
Yeah,
like, it's just like porn, just like everything else. Like, you get.
It's like you said before. There's no good or bad. It's just
it's
all relative and it's dependent in moderation. Like, heroin isn't even bad if you do it once a year.
Right.
That's completely fine. I mean, I'm not saying you should do it.
That is funny because most people would hear that and think that's crazy, but there's, like, some people that study it, like, that show that actually, like, they use it, like doctors and stuff, where it's like, I can't remember that dude's name, but he, like, does heroin, and people are like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm a doctor. It's safe the way I'm doing it. I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah, it's all just how it's affecting the rest of your life. Same thing with, like, caffeine and weed. I'm not saying these things are bad. Just when you do them to the level that I'm at, where it's causing interference on the rest of your life, then it's bad. It's
a balance thing.
It's not bad in itself. Like, junk food, like candy, ice cream, it's not bad. If you eat it all the time and you get fatter than you would like, that's bad.
That's bad.
But the food itself
if it impacts your health,
how you're using them is bad. It's your use of these things.
So that's how you can kind of, like, get that where you don't label it as bad. Is how are you using it? Because it's a free country, so we should be able to have, like, I don't want to say, like, oh, we should regulate food so people aren't. I mean, it is kind of sad now. Everybody's on Ozempic and that other one that starts with an M. So
mental health is on a decline, and there's a reason why.
Oh, I just saw some stats. It was independent journalism journalist. It's called Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar. But Sagar's always sharing stuff like he shared, like, the latest stats of, like, suicide rates and, like, he's like, Americans are not doing great right now. And I'm like, we're not.
We're not. It's because we have all these companies and the politicians just taking our dopamine receptors and manipulating us to, like, no matter how you want to label it, like consumerism, marketing, it's all manipulating us so that we give in to our stress response. That's what all that is. And it even comes down to, like, McDonald's picks their colors to manipulate your stress response to eat.
Yeah.
They choose these colors on purpose, and they choose their marketing on purpose. And to me, I think that that's just so wrong. I'm not sure what to do with it, but a lot of marketing, I think, is predatory. And a lot of products in this world are predatory. And that's why mental health is so low, because all of our discipline is going down, and then nobody's able to control the rest of their lives. Then people are getting fatter, they're getting lazier, and then you can't live a happy life unless you feel fulfilled and proud of yourself.
I know.
Everybody needs something that gives them a great sense of power and fulfillment. And, and if you don't have that because everything is robbing you of your discipline, then you're just going to stay kicked the fuck down. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, that's like what I'm dealing with all my clients. Like a lot of them, they just are so happy to even have that purpose. Like, so like for a lot of people, and I'm sure you find this, you do a lot of online training too, though. So so like I do some of that, but a lot of mine are in person, and it's like they just want to have somebody there who's like, I have to be there because he's there waiting. Like he's, I got to be there today. I can't like not go because he's expecting me there.
Accountability partner.
Yeah. So that, and then a lot of them, sometimes they're just like, I wouldn't even really want to be here by myself. They just want somebody there.
Most of my clients are like that. They don't lift without me.
Yeah, they just want to know what to do. And a lot of people kind of, it's funny because we're actually really good at taking direction. Like if I was like going to go do a class and someone's like, get up, sit down, do this. It's kind of fun, like being told like, hey,
think about it.
And then you try to be, do it in a good way because most of us want to do well, you know? So like you're trying to, I don't know, there's something about it. It motivates them to work harder than they probably would on their own. Yeah. So that's why they're paying you.
Yeah, for sure.
And for your knowledge, obviously.
Yeah.
But
it's mostly that. That's why I like your knowledge as a trainer. There's a diminishing return on like how valuable it is. Yeah. If you know that like 5% of knowledge is wasted on 99% of clients, it doesn't fucking matter. Right. They don't need that. They just need somebody to be there and be a good influence.
And a lot of them don't even want to know I'll nerd out talking about nerdy stuff like, like why we're doing this or this or that or my opinion. Some people think this, some people think that, or talk, get in depth about nutrition. And most of them are just like, just tell me what to do. I don't. That's why I pay you. I don't want to deal with all that. I don't want to know.
I have a few that aren't as excited about that, but most of my clients are really interested. And I think a lot of it comes down to like your passion. If you're talking about it in a factual way, like telling them information, but you're like, man, the muscles and this and that, and you're just listing off information, you're really excited. I think anybody wants to listen to somebody who talks about something they're really excited about. Right. So I think that kind of
they definitely see the passion definitely comes through. I always try to do that too, where I'm like, I gotta have energy for my clients.
Yeah, you gotta fake
it's
it.
Hard. You gotta fake it sometimes bad.
A lot of
like you've just had how many that day, and you're like, I just want to go home.
Like with the surgery, I had a few sessions where, and I guess I'm not ashamed to say this online, where I was battling a lot of suicidal thoughts. I was seeing a lot of psychiatrists on a lot of medication. And then I have to go from this therapy or this doctor's appointment where I just told them I wanted to kill myself to go train 4 back-to-back clients where you have to put on a face and they have no.
Well, and show up as somebody who's like, I'm here to motivate you. I'm here to like actually show you it because you're their example. Like I want to be like him.
Yep, and that's what integrity is. That's part of that. You got to be resilient. You got to stand up, and a lot of that comes on putting on a show. And I've done it.
And you're like you're. Where do you think those like kind of thoughts are coming from? Just like
honestly, like a lot of bad thought patterns that I'm trying to undo because I lived stuff. Mostly when I was younger, I spent a lot of time self-isolating and just like ruminating in my own negative thoughts and getting a ping, 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 ping. And like you're talking about with those neural pathways, is I'm just in a rut of these negative thought patterns. So like I see a certain thing, I think bad about, and those go in just millions of different.
Well, it's hard for people to understand that are not in it because it goes to show like anybody else looking like, so you're successful in what you're doing. You actually, you're partnered up, you have a girl, like anybody would be like, like what, but it doesn't stop those kind of thoughts or patterns. You know what I mean? So like, that's a battle that you have to take on every single day, dude.
Yeah, it is.
And I've been lucky in this podcast where I've had people willing to talk about those kind of things. We've had some really good episodes where guys have opened up about that stuff. And I think that, if you look at what's going on in the world right now, it probably is good to talk about.
I think it's so important because, like you're talking about, mental health is so in a decline. So,
if we're looking at the statistics, dude, this is something everybody out there's facing, and they're just not talking about.
Most of us. I think I'd say that number is actually that statistic of depression is probably higher than that reads. Just people aren't willing to, especially generations above us. They just don't. I don't think they're in denial. I think they just don't understand. They're not aware. It's an ignorance, really.
Me and my buddy were talking about like even us, how we kind of both have dad issues a little bit. Like in both of our dads are amazing too. Like I've been talking a lot about my dad on here, how much he actually meant to me, because he, looking back, I was like, wow, the guy really taught me a lot, and he was like really present and there. But I think they both kind of had, and they're the same as their dads, where like they were good at teaching you like the discipline part, the hard work part, not wanting you to turn into a piece of shit, don't be a victim, man up, toughen up. But they didn't have that emotional part. So whatever that is, I think that's what caused me and my buddy to both be like hyper ambitious, because we're still looking for this like pat on the back or something.
Yeah, seriously.
So me and him were like joking about that. We're like, why do we have the best dads? Why do we still kind of have like similarities with people that have no dads? And it's like, because the emotional part was missing. And it's like, well, that's how their dads were. You just didn't talk about emotion. So it's like he's trying to do that with his kids, where it's like kind of break that pattern where he's like, I'm not like that with my kids at all. I'm like always so loving with them, showing them that so I'm like, that's, and then he's going to have a son now. So I wonder if he'll be able to do it with his son the same as with the daughter. Because it might be easier with daughters,
Well, you got to lead by example. I think if you don't even have to, if you want to encourage an open communication with children, you don't have to actively just do that. You can let them watch you do it with your partner, with other people. If your kid sees dad's talking about his emotions and he's being vulnerable, it's okay.
Right.
So I don't think my dad was kind of the same, where I love my father, great relationship with him, but he wasn't very in tune with his emotions. So I just learned to not talk about it.
And I love my dad too, especially now. Like I value my parents more and more every single year.
Yeah,
like
same.
how much work they did.
Mom and Dad, I love you so much.
Yeah. They're just you really appreciate them more. But yeah, I was like, I think that is a thing. Like that people are like, we just don't talk about shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think the world would be perfect if everybody just went around spewing their feelings all the time either. That might be kind of weird too, but there's got to be some balance where it's like, like some kids struggling, like they're not, because a lot of times it comes out in humor. There's even this kid at the gym, he's killing it right now, and he's a younger dude, but he's always making these like comments about killing himself and stuff, and he like, like it's a joke, but it's like, so there's something real going on there.
All jokes are based on some truth.
You
Really. Wouldn't say it if you never thought about it.
Right.
I'm sorry for him. If we see him, introduce me to him, and I'll try to be a positive influence on the young gentleman.
He's one of these dudes I've run into where they're like, they got short guy issues. So like they're short, but they're like in every other way they got so much going for them. But it's like they feel like they have to work 10 times harder because
it's an advantage in our sports, dude.
It's an advantage. Well, and it's like, as far as like finding mates, if you look at data with like how women will throw away over half the population immediately based on height, so like you're invisible. There's even like that comedian Nicky was joking about, she's like, oh yeah, I can get a guy way higher than my like, she's like saying her value basically, like a guy way out of my league, I just got to date a short guy. So he's going to be way hotter than I am, but he's short, so he can't get a girl.
That's funny.
But so I'll just go with him, and I'll like sit down, so in a picture it looks like we're the same height,
Yeah, no heels for
But
her.
so she's joking about a really real thing, how like you could be the hottest, like best, like most accomplished, rich, car, everything, but if you're short, certain women will just, that's
it's a
it.
little harder. Sure.
Yeah, sorry, I need better genes than that.
Yeah, I know most women probably don't want a man that's shorter than them. I guess I understand it.
I get it.
But the opposite is also not always good. I think being too tall, I'm sure you can relate, is honestly, it intimidates some people. It's off-putting to some people. I know that when I talk to a guy your height, or there's another guy at Body Shop that's a similar height, I kind of feel like I'm shriveled up. Like, I feel bad. Like, and I avoid him because of that.
That's so
genuinely,
weird.
You and this dude are great fucking human beings, but...
Well, that's like my friend...
always greener.
My friend Kaylee always says that. She's like, Nick looks like this, but he's just like a teddy bear or whatever. And I'm like, don't fucking say that.
Be proud of it, dude.
No, I know.
In this new era,
don't fucking tell people.
Sensitive men like us are on the come up.
Yeah,
this is our year.
Well, it's because like little things I will be really like emotional about, like oh, here, fuck with that. Yeah, you're good. Just that chord. But like, so she has this dog, and I've dog sat for her many times, and I love her dog Sydney. And she just recently, she'd always kind of had like mostly blindness, but she could kind of still see a little bit. So last time I watched her, she could still see, but it was getting worse. And then there was one day where I'm like, go in, and she like just can't see. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, Sydney, get out of the way. What are you doing? She's like, and Kaylee had to tell me like, oh no, it finally went, and
poor
so.
baby.
So I'm like tearing up and stuff. She's like, there it is. That's that softie. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, well, it just, it hit me. I'm like, the little girl can't see anymore, so it's kind of sad,
It's very sad. There's no need to be ashamed of that, honestly.
Right.
I'm sure most viewers won't believe this, but I cry almost daily.
Yeah,
Usually,
I think
a lot of time in the
talked about
morning, I don't do really. I get sensory overload, so if I wake up and it's really cold, I get really sad. And I don't feel well, and I cry when my plants die.
How's this time of year treating you then?
It's going okay. Luckily, I'm on the uphill with my shoulder, so like that's kind of counteracting a little bit of that.
Because it's rough,
seasonal
dude.
issues, but I definitely feel myself kind of wanting to recluse.
Well, it's like you wake up and it's cold and dark, and you're like, I just want to go back to sleep. And then by the time it's like 4 in the afternoon, it's cold and dark. You're like, I just want to go home and sleep.
And it hurts to go outside.
It's like I can't sleep all day. Yeah. This is crazy, like. So it's crazy because it is weird how light works and it affects us. Because like, I'll be training most of my clients in the afternoon, and it's brightly lit in the gym, and we're there. The music's on. It's upbeat, but it's like, it's still not the same as real sunlight. Because when you're in there, you just like that darkness outside. It's just like there's something different about artificial light.
Yeah,
it's
sunlight
not the same.
I am all about, as a STEM major, I love light. It is the holy moly fascinating kind of particle the photon is.
Oh, dude, how's school going?
I had to actually miss this quarter, unfortunately, because the school keeps messing with my financial aid because they calculate it off of like a previous year's income, and I'm making less money, so they denied me, and I appealed it, and they deny me. It's frustrating because I don't make that income, but they want to do it off of solidified tax returns, which I think is just... I guess they probably have reasons, but it's frustrating to deal with as a student who really, really wants to go to school. And I know when I'm not in school, I atrophy away with my brain and my discipline because I'm not being stimulated.
If you don't use it.
Yeah, and I'm an intelligent person. I think I need certain levels of things to stimulate me. Like, everyday life doesn't really. I need to go to school.
Dude, I totally get that, actually, because I was talking to some of my friends about some of this, listening to certain podcasts, and like, it was like the history of, human mating or whatever, like and that's where I was like kind of some of these stats about shorter people and like mate selection, how it worked, like back in the, thousands of years ago, like only like 5% of males would even mate because that was like, it was only the most dominant ones. And it wasn't until pair bonding happened. And we, I don't know, but anyway, so this stuff like fascinates me.
Yeah. It's
and I'm like sharing it with my friends, and I'm just kind of realizing like, how bored I get with normal shit. Yeah. I'm like, unless we're like talking about something this interesting, I'm so checked out.
Same.
Like,
I can't do small talk or anything no more. I'd rather just skip. I posted that about a while ago about people in the gym with small talk. I'm like, we don't have to interact. Like, we don't have to.
Well, that's when you're in your zone, right?
Yeah, it's frustrating. When people pull you out of the zone to ask you, "Yo, bro, what you hitting today?" Shut the fuck up.
What you hitting, bro?
I don't need to have.
Yeah, and part of it. So are you still at Body Shop a lot?
I am. I just haven't been exercising, so I didn't stop visiting there for any reason other than that. I just have been doing cardio at my apartment gym, but I'm coming up this week, I'll probably be in a few times a week to start doing whatever I can.
I've still been going there for my leg day because I like their hack squat machine and stuff.
Got some great stuff there. I really miss some of their machines. I really like their leg extension and a few other things. So I definitely will be back.
Dude, that's so exciting. You know what you did right too, in my opinion, is getting leaner while injured. Because a lot of times people go the other way. They're just like, fuck it, I'm injured, so I'll sit around and eat. And they put on a bunch of excess weight, and then that's just going to make... I mean, first of all, it's going to make your healing harder because your body's going to be in this, like, excess adipose tissue. And you know what I mean? Like, you're just not going to be hormonally the best. And then when you do start again, you're going to have to, like, the problem of undoing the weight. So really getting leaner while injured is, like, really intelligent.
And the discipline thing. I mean, I guess if you're gaining weight but you're eating like disciplined, then that's different. But most people
it's different when you're bulking.
So that's my biggest thing is you have to transition from this moment of very low self-control to now control. When I'd rather just maintain my self-control. That's why I said I'm just going to continue going to the gym every day, do cardio, and I'm going to eat good so that I can maintain whatever discipline I have. Because when I lose gym time, that's discipline I'm losing. That's my practice. The gym is regularly rehearsed discipline, and that's why it's so valuable to our clients and to people because they learn to be disciplined in the gym, and now it's easier for them to eat better. It's easier for them to be better at their job. It's easier for them to control their temper.
It's a snowball effect.
It is. Discipline is discipline.
You start doing it. Yep. There's that line. It's like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
It's even things like me. Like I want to get like things a little more organized, a little more, and then if you stay on top of that, that's going to go into every aspect of your life.
For sure.
If you start letting, because it's like being a trainer, you're always in your car. You're always driving and then your car gets messy. It's like, well, what does this say about me? You know, like I don't like that. It's
it bleeds into everything else. If you let your car get messy, you're more likely to skip the gym and cheat on your food.
Isn't that weird? Little things like that.
It all affects each other.
But no, what you said about the keeping the discipline with the injury, like even so, I have this client who she is on a meal plan with me, and she's like kills it because she's like so. Like, she went from 222 down to 198 in, like, the span of a little over a month.
Good for her. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's just from following a meal plan. And she was working out, too, but she's a teacher. So one day she, like, rolls her ankle walking to the gym. You know, has to put a brace on. But to your point, so, like, she couldn't really work out because of the ankle, but she stayed on her meal plan. So she never yo-yoed back up in weight. So it's like you said, if you just maintain the control in one thing, so you're still going and doing your cardio, you're still eating right, so you're like still doing the thing. So then when you do transition back into lifting, you're already used to getting out and doing those things. So it's not like a whole change again.
Yeah, it's just a different form. Yeah. I do recommend she should probably be active in whatever she can do, whether that's just like
she did do that. Now she's back. Yeah. I think she was still trying to do upper body and stuff like that. But
good. Even if you literally, I tell people, if you just go into the gym and stretch for 5 minutes and leave, like that is that rehearsal. That's routine. You need the routine, or else it's harder to get it back up.
Yeah, there's some rule like that even about like
the habits.
A habit thing where like even say you're not going to do your chest day that day, but you just drop down and do like 20 push-ups. And that's all you had time for, that still does something to your brain. Yeah. There's this interesting thing I was listening to Huberman Lab podcast. You know Andrew Huberman?
Smart man.
Dude, that guy just blows my mind all the time.
Absolutely. Love him.
He was talking about this AMCC pathway in the brain or whatever. And so it's this thing where like it gets stronger and grows every time you do something that you don't want to do, but like do it anyway, basically. Yeah. So like really challenging things like pump this part of the brain up. So like, so people that do, and it doesn't always mean like lifting or whatever. It's just like, you know, maybe you got to write a paper and you force yourself. So it strengthens. And I guess this is the part in the brain that they've shown in people who are in their 70s that are still like physically fit, still active, still mentally sound. It's a larger part in the brain in these type of people. And then they say like we lose brain mass as we age. Apparently that's the place where we lose it from. So the only way to combat it is to like, so you're saying like, I don't like to skip school and stuff. Well, because you're going to atrophy those parts of your brain muscle, basically. You know,
so the discipline center of the brain. I'm going to research this. That's really
thank
you for
sharing that. Check out AMCC.
That's pretty fascinating.
You know, and then the only downside is like, they were saying like, it's a good thing to focus on, but then if you look at people with eating disorders, theirs is like huge. So it can be a negative too, because it's like it's an extreme version of being able to
override your stress response.
Like, I'm just not going to eat. Yeah. So it's a weird one, but I'm like, man, that's like so. And just the fact that we can actually affect it, like based on what we do, is pretty.
The brain. I forget who says the quote. It grows and develops based on how we use it.
Well, like that, you know, David Goggins, that Navy SEAL dude that just runs and runs. Like, dude, his has to be huge because he forces himself every day to do. He does. It's kind of like, you know, he won't even miss his stretch. Like, he has a 2-hour stretch. Yeah. He won't even miss that any day of the week. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's the pinnacle of that.
He's the pinnacle, I'd say, of like,
just discipline and grit, most importantly. Like, grit is something people don't talk about. Like, to get down and dirty and suffer, you know.
Just got to make it happen anyway.
Different. Yeah, like it's something.
Like, when you don't want to make it happen, it's like if you're in a good mood and you feel strong that day and you go hit your lift and it feels good, like, that's always fun. But it's like those days when you really don't feel like it.
That's
and
where the most discipline's about.
That's where
if you think about it as discipline as doing things you don't want to do, overriding your stress response, the days that you want to train don't build shit. I mean, they build the routine. It's still good. Right. But the days you don't want to do, you get so much gains because now your body's like, okay, this motherfucker's in control.
Yeah, he's going to do it anyway. So I guess we got to fucking adapt.
So those days, you just got to go. You have to do it because those are the days that matter the most. And if you don't listen on those days, your discipline goes down significantly more because your body's like, I got him. Yeah. I don't feel good. He listened to me. We get to stay home, you know. And
right. It's like showing your body that you're in charge.
That you're in charge. That's just the automatic. That's a stress response saying we need to stay home and rest to survive and eat, and that's really it. So you got to say no.
You have to override your body a lot because it just wants to be lazy.
It wants to just follow a computer prompt like all animals, really. And most of us are on it. People just don't admit it. But if you just go to work, you have kids, and you eat, and you don't discipline yourself in some way every day, then you're just an animal. Like you're not. nothing different.
You're just following a program that was programmed by somebody else.
You're on a feedback, just running. But people think that they're more because they have more complex feelings, but that's not the case. I don't care if you can experience a broad range of emotions and you have opposable thumbs. If you're not disciplined, you're just an animal. Like, you're just a computer. That's true, all you are, and that's most of us.
It's rough to see sometimes too. Like, you end up not being able to relate to normal people a lot.
Yeah, that's why that small talk thing is hard. Is I'm just like, we are on a different wavelength. There's nothing wrong with that. If those people are happy, please. But it's just not relatable to me to be that way.
It's just rough to be around if you're thinking outside the box a little bit.
And they're just like, hey man, how was work? It's Friday. Man.
Well, it's like you get people that are in the program and they're just like la 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 following it, right? They have no idea why they're really doing anything. Just kind of how they've always done it, and they've fallen into life. They've never really directed it themselves. And then you got people that are thinking outside of that have maybe like, even with maybe you've been through some things that are tough, so you've almost had to like get knocked out of it.
Yeah.
And then you realize like that you are in charge of certain things and like you can actually affect your programming. And so then like trying to match up with these people or talk to them and relate gets harder.
It gets hard, especially
I try to stay like a man of the people, but it is hard. Like, me and my buddy, it's funny, we start calling like regular people civilians.
NPCs.
Yeah, like for civilians, or like an NPC.
Non-playable characters.
It's like, most of them too, like even like the way they think about issues or stuff, it's like, where did that even come from?
They just heard it from somebody else.
That's not even your thought.
That was probably their parents, what they told them, and they just went, bleh.
Oh, yeah, you'll see
That's
that.
95% of people have fully unoriginal ideas.
You'll see that with kids and parents because hear like the kid saying something, and then you'll be like, what? Yeah. Where does he get these ideas? Like and then you hear his dad, you're like, that's where it's directly. I see that a lot with religion, and I have mixed feelings about it, but I do think it is bordering morality wrongness to force your child onto a religion before they really understand it. But I guess if you really believe in your religion, then I guess I get it. Well, then you would want, because you believe that's
But you're not letting them make the decision if you're ingraining it in their head before they have the ability to actually understand what's going on.
Agreed.
I didn't understand religion really, at least, I guess maybe you can't understand it. Someone probably thinks that's silly, but I never knew anything about it until very recently. But I would have told you I have an opinion for my whole life, even though
it's a tough one for me because I have all these people I look up to now who are like religious, and it's like, I don't know, it gets weird sometimes.
Yeah, some people, there's extremes for sure.
Like, I can see the value in it, but then sometimes I'll see, like, it'll start looking really attractive to me. Wow, like, community and, like, this, this idea of this higher power, which I kind of do believe in something like that. Like, I definitely don't think I'm weird. I feel like our souls are definitely eternal or something.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
so
that. But no one religion has been able to really, like, explain. Or I just can't pick one because it's like... Yeah. They all seem to be different, and they're all different by region. So
they're all saying the same thing, just different names and different people, but
and
it's all the same thing.
Right. So it's weird, but then I always get turned off when it's like they start the judgment thing. Like,
that's where I draw the line.
Yeah, so it'll be like, wow, this is amazing, and then I'll see something like, oh, I see too many people posting sexy pictures on Instagram, but going to church on Sunday. I'm like, well, what if that girl wants to do both? What if she what if she loves God, but she also wants to show her butt on Instagram? Does that mean? I don't know. Like, yeah, do I think there is problems in some of that stuff? Like, probably. Like, it's probably an attention-seeking thing, maybe, and maybe she's doing it because she doesn't have self-value, so she wants to get external value. But I'm like, that's her prerogative,
Yeah,
like,
either way.
The judgment thing gets me a little bit.
They say only God can judge me, and what that means is judgment is not reserved for us. That is above our pay grade. It does not matter if someone does something terrible. It's not your job. That's whatever higher power you call's job. It has nothing to do with us. We are below that pay grade.
It's weird, though. I do start judging people.
We all will.
Like you said, for the not being disciplined thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like I get really annoyed sometimes with, like, weakness, like...
I think it's okay to, like, subconsciously judge. You can only do that so much, I guess. But as long as you don't actively act.
But you try to lead with kindness.
For sure. Even if you disagree with someone's beliefs or how they carry themselves, you should respect them.
Right, because I've even run into that on this podcast where I've had people, like, clip out parts of it out of context and then get mad at me. Like, stuff I've said about alcohol or, because I'm not a fan of alcohol. I think it's worthless.
Same.
I think it's, like, weird when you have these people, like, telling you're the asshole for saying it's weird that they're sitting around poisoning themselves and they're like think it's normal.
That's their ego defending themselves because if alcohol is weird, then they are weak. And
they
need it. Feel bad.
Right, they need it to be like I'm doing the normal thing, I'm doing the okay thing. So if you're saying like, hey, you're poisoning yourself and it's probably a deeper root, like whatever. But anyway, it's weird because like I still shouldn't judge those kind of people. Like it's like their prerogative, like. But it is weird because I was like saying on a podcast one time, I was like, it is bad that I judge people. I shouldn't do that. That was how I started saying what I was saying. I'm like, I really shouldn't judge people, but sometimes I'll sit around and see these people drinking, and I'm like, ugh.
I think that was with me. I think I remember that
I
conversation.
think me and you were saying
you were talking about working out at the bar.
And so someone clipped that out and just showed the part where I was like talking shit without the previous part saying I shouldn't do this, but sometimes I feel like this.
Yeah.
So they're like cutting out the part where I'm like, I know that what I'm doing is not necessarily great, and I'm saying to you I shouldn't probably do it, but I do feel like this sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is, just a feeling. It's how I feel.
Yeah,
so
just
like,
the feeling's okay.
But it is funny. Like, so then they passed it around, and I had like certain, customers like attack me at work. How dare you say this on your podcast? I'm like, bitch, I'll say whatever.
Yeah, because you were still working at that place, and those people that you might have been talking about.
I still work there now. It's a great place, But like, I'm just saying, like, I'll say whatever I want. I'm not, it's like, it's a real thing. Alcohol is poison. It is not good for you. I'm not going to pretend it's good for you for your feelings.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't attacking the people. You were just expressing your opinion on the concept. If they want to take a personal attack to that, then that's their own prerogative.
Well, it's usually, it was a deeper seated thing. They're feeling like it's because they have a problem with it themselves. Yeah. And they know, like, because I've heard the same person say, like, I wish there was a time I could say I used to drink. So it's like they know they want to quit, but they can't.
I'm coming up on 3 years sober.
I know. That's one thing you won't even do at all, right?
Say, maybe when I'm 60 and my son's 21, I don't know. But I do not plan to. And I used to be a very, very serious drinker.
I do remember that. That was one.
Not just casting judgment blindly. I have suffered from this for a long time. It has deeply impacted my family, my loved ones, and it has caused me a lot of sorrow and problems. So through my experience, I do not condone overuse of alcohol. I will not say that. Like we said before, it's not good or bad.
Right. Do what you want,
If it's interfering with your life in any capacity, I suggest you consider exploring other options of handling your emotions. Because that's what it was for me. After I stopped drinking, I realized that my brain wasn't functioning properly because every time I would feel negative emotions, I would mask it. And then I went to the doctor and they said I have obsessive compulsive disorder. And I never knew because I was always masking it. Every time I got a symptom, I take a drink, take a shot, it goes away. And I was drinking sun up to sundown. Yeah. I worked at a bar,
that's the thing
store, just to turn it all off. I never faced what my brain actually did.
Yeah, and with alcohol, you always need more because what it does is it gives you a momentary relief, but then it causes more anxiety after.
So
it's a cycle. So then you get anxiety after because your body feels like shit, and it actually causes more anxiety. So you take another drink to get rid of the anxiety. Then it goes away for a minute, and then it causes more. So it's just like a cycle of,
it is.
I need more, I feel like shit, I need more. And then it's like, but you're always going to feel like shit. You're going to have to pay that part. Yeah. So like, so if you can get through that part and quit, then you're good. But.
Yeah, if you're a drinker and you're depressed, you're going to be depressed without it or with it. You might as well be making progress.
Well, it's just it's a putting off the dealing with the thing that you're using,
which I've done
to mask. You're using the drug to mask the thing, and so you're never going to really deal with the thing. So you're just pushing it. You're putting it off.
You're swiping it under the carpet
till later. Sure. It's always going to come back.
It gets harder and harder because every day that you don't face these things, you're running yourself deeper into that rut. Some speaker described your neural pathways as a snowy hill, like the ski ruts where you see other people going. Yeah. And like taking things like psychedelics is just a fresh blanket of snow. And that's a good metaphor for your thought patterns and your thought processes. Is we are proven to be very likely to respond the same way to things, even if they're good thoughts or bad thoughts, not right, wrong. That's just how it works. So, if you never really attack and try to do new things and you just run down that same path of I'm going to drink, you're never going to break out of that. It's just not possible.
What a boring life that would be.
Yeah, just running on autopilot. For all of you addicts out there, I sympathize with you and I love you very much. But things get better, and we're there for you. But
it's weird when you get people too who are like kind of known for drinking, and then they kind of have to like quit, or they do quit, and then they have to kind of prove that they're still good without it. Like you got like, what is it, Ron White, the comedian? He was always that guy. He's like the elder statesman comedian, like the white hair, the cigar, and he'd always have like the glass of scotch. And it's kind of part of his thing, you know. But he doesn't drink now, but he's still really, really funny, you know. I always think of like Chris Farley. For him, if he would have survived, he would have had to change. And then it's like, would he have been as funny? No, he wouldn't have. Or he would have been funny in a different way.
In a different way, I'm sure.
But for him to, survive, he couldn't have kept that. He was burning going so hard. You couldn't keep that up. You were going to, you're just going to, that's it. I mean,
it only lasts so long before you burn yourself out.
Right. But he could have, he just would have been different. It's always like a thing with artists. Like, am I still good without the substance?
It's just hard. Music, other musicians can account for. It's a lot easier when you're on drugs.
It's a lot easier, dude. So you're doing some music again, too, right?
Oh, yeah, I am. I am so excited, dude. So excited.
So that was something you could do still while you're injured, too. That you could put your
so that
energy
was one
into.
reason. I had a lot of emotions to get out, and I needed to spend some time with another hobby. So actually, that's another thing that with the benefit of me having this injury, it reconnected me with old hobbies that I loved.
Right.
And I really love music. I've gotten good feedback, so I think I'm okay at it. So I really am excited to have the opportunity to kind of give it again. Because if I didn't have this time, I wouldn't have began to reach out. I did plan to do music again in my lifetime, but it wouldn't have been now.
No, so it just kind of presented itself to you.
I have a buddy named Trevor Trico. He lives in Connecticut. We did a song together in, I think, 2018, and then him and I parted ways just because I moved. And now we have 3 songs written. I've mostly recorded my part. We just need to, re-record them better quality. They're drafts, so I haven't really released it yet. But
dude, that's so fun, the recording process.
Yeah, and I've gotten a lot better as a vocalist, lyricist, musician in the last 5 years, and I'm so excited to show people what I can bring to the table. I think it's.
I believe you, because I think with age you do get better.
I think so too.
You figure out your voice better, and and then like you said, lyric wise. Well, you're older, so it seems like you have more to say there, or better ways.
Hopefully,
to say
better perspectives and more insight, so a more positive message, but. It is very aggressive death metal regardless, but
trying to put a positive spin.
Yeah, I'm talking about positive things. Everybody has a misconception that metal is always bad, but most of it is actually about the same things every other band is about. They just scream it. Yeah. I won't be silly enough to say there isn't more aggression, I guess, just based on the nature of it, but a lot of the metal I've listened to is about love. It's about family, but people just want to
There is a calming effect of the angry music, though, isn't there? Like, don't they say it kind of helps people calm down?
If you have to express those emotions, certainly. I would agree with that. Finding some peace.
Well, right now everybody's sharing their Spotify Wrapped, so.
Yeah, I just shared mine.
Yeah. It's so funny. I'm always jealous because I listen to Apple Music.
Oh,
so
man.
I'm I got no
loser.
I know. So I could share my I can share my playlist, but I can't really share.
Man.
It doesn't do it the same way.
It's like you had an Android or something. Or, remember the Zune back in the day instead of the iPod? It was the Zune. You're a Zune guy. I was a Zune guy.
Yeah.
I had one.
Who has an MP3 player? You don't have an iPod, you freaking loser.
Is that a CD player?
Yeah, it's like, what the hell, dude? Get with the program. You know what it is, so honestly, I'll sound like such a snob. I don't know, does Spotify have a higher audio quality setting?
There's settings to change that. Yeah,
okay, so it probably does now. I just remember, so Apple has Apple lossless, so it sounds really good, because I hate, MP3s always sound so dull to me. Which now it doesn't matter. We're all listening on streaming, but there is a better sound quality setting on Apple Music that I like because it's just way higher quality, which takes up way more room on your phone and shit. Sure. But for me, it's worth it. But Spotify probably does now.
I think so. I know they have an equalizer too. You can adjust if you want to change the frequencies on that. You can do that.
So why don't I listen on Spotify? Then I can have a Spotify Wrapped. I know. I'm like, geez, out of the loop.
Gotta get with it. But
I know. How am I going to survive if I'm not as cool as everybody?
As cool as everyone. Man, we're doing music again. My dream is to play some shows. I would.
Oh, dude, you got to play shows. Where would you play? If that guy's not here, though, how are you going to do that?
Honestly, if it came to that, we would try to find people to play the other instruments for us by proxy, and we would play as a band.
Right. Because you guys did. You played stuff.
Not with with him, but
and you're just doing vocals. Yeah,
I'm just doing vocals. He's doing instruments, but I've played shows with this guy before. I filled in for a band he was in, and
so if you put something together, you could play guitar too, right? And
no, not me.
No, you'd be the singer.
I played it on a song I did, but I played riff by riff. I can't play a song. And I could pass on drums, but I can't drum and scream at the same time.
One nice thing you got going is for metal, since you're a power lifter, you actually have that look. If you were on stage screaming, you'd be.
I talk about that all the time, especially when I get back in shape. You see my ass up on fucking stage.
Well, especially if you kind of dressed a certain way, and you know what I mean. There's some kind of.
Good, and I have a really I have a sort of a deep voice. I'm told, so my voice has a really good fullness, and it just sounds deranged. I really just like.
That's
the way it
fucking.
Sounds disturbing. I want to channel that
What would be like your thing on stage you do? Like, like everybody's kind of got like...
My thing is I mosh while I sing. I jump into the fucking crowd and I throw arms, massive as hell. And in these metal shows, all the dudes are scrawny. So I look like a giant Goliath walking around in here. So that's mostly my thing. And like,
like you go to a metal show, it's like all the dudes are scrawny. Then there's like some girl that's just like, whoa, like dog collar on. Get out of my fucking way, bro. And I'm like, whoa, dude. Yeah. I'm like, shit.
But
nah, that's awesome.
It'll be awesome. I look at playing shows. You did shows in wrestling, so it's probably a similar high, but holy
it's
shit.
a huge high, dude. I was thinking about that actually, that like being somebody that's been in highs like that, I think you do have to have like some sort of like there is something where you have to like, obviously I keep doing things in my life that keep me like focused on my here and now present. But I could see where it's like after you've been through certain highs like that, everything else just feels like dull.
Yeah.
Like what? Boring. Especially at times when you've basically been able to be like almost like a god.
Yeah, like the rock
stars. Because you're like the good guy. You're in the main event. You're like the champion. Like you're like the guy in that spot, and everybody like thinks you're like this person, and like you get all these people thinking of you like that, and then you like go back to your like normal life, and it's like, bitch, treat me like I'm supposed to be treated. No, it's like but I'm just a normal dude.
That's how I feel going into places when people are rude to me. I'm like, do you know what my total is, dude?
I know,
outside of the gym, they don't give a fuck what you lift.
Well, that's like, even at the bar, like somebody will talk to you like rudely or something. It's like, motherfucker,
you don't
if
know
this
how much
was the real fucking world without society.
You ever think like if you were in the gym, they wouldn't say that to you?
I would still be nice
power
to you.
Dynamic.
Yeah. I could beat you up, but I'd still be nice to you because I'm a nice guy.
Still love and support you and encourage you.
But look it, dude. Yeah, it's like, you shouldn't still treat me like that because it's not cool. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's so weird, yeah. I don't know. People treat each other weird, dude. Actually, I was listening to this lady on a podcast talk about how she hires. I can't remember. I think she was in the fitness field, but she's like, yeah, I'll take people out to like restaurants and see how they treat people.
Yes,
I'll see if they hold up the line to see if they have self-awareness. Like, if you're in a line waiting and you're holding it up by asking a million questions and there's a bunch of people behind you, like, oh, so this person's a narcissist. I'm not going to hire them. Like unaware of everybody else around them. So it's like, I'm like, shit, that's a good plan. Because, people do it on dates too. Yeah. They'll take like their date out and see like, how are they going to treat the serving staff? Are they going to be uppity and treat them like shit? Like, maybe I don't want this girl.
I thought like the best first date is see if they return their grocery cart to the corral or if they just put it up on the fucking curb.
I just saw that today. That pisses me
so
off.
Angry.
Somebody left one right by the car, and I was just like.
And then there's some people that think that like this is okay because it's someone's job.
Job security.
Like,
I'm helping you out, honestly, by leaving my car.
Those people are problematic. Just walk 20 feet. It's really not that difficult.
I know. It's just like nice, like rules of society that keep society, going in a smooth way. Treat people. Yeah, that I found too. Like most people are just not adults.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm immature, but then I'm like, how are these people this helpless? And they're like 50.
People that are worse. Yeah.
Like 50 years old, and you like act like that. Like seriously, dude.
A lot of immature people out there, and it's part of the mental health being in a decline too in the country too. As I think those kind of correlate a little bit.
It does.
It's hard to grow when you're in fight or flight and you haven't addressed your traumas, and that's why people behave like children because they're still. If you haven't addressed your childhood traumas, you're still a child in there. You never grew from that because you're stuck in a stasis.
And I always try to remember that. Like I know if someone's being an asshole, like they're not feeling great about themselves.
Yeah, hurt people. Anybody who's rude or anything.
So I try not to turn it back on them because then I'm just gonna be falling into their. But basically I'm gonna be the same as them if I
Yeah, you can't respond to negativity.
Try to be kind and nice but I really want to be like, look, motherfucker.
It's hard sometimes, but that's that stress response. That respond in anger is a stress response. So if you can't control that, and most people can't control their.
We should we've talked about traffic before, right? If you can like stay calm in traffic, not lose your shit.
Oh yeah, that'll make you. If you can control your road rage, you will be more likely to be consistent in the gym. And you will be less likely to go off your diet. Discipline, ladies and gentlemen.
You've talked about these things,
Something I'm very passionate about. Very passionate about this.
It translates to everything.
And to every single person. Every single person listening can take something from that concept and apply it to their daily life. Discipline, your stress response, and how it manifests. That's the way I see it.
I think that's 100% true. It goes back to that, like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So
yeah, absolutely. So
yeah, and people also have that view of like powerlifter bodybuilders as like short hair trigger temper. So you kind of want to fight against that a little bit too.
Yeah, I do put an effort to be out of that stigma because I know, like, probably same thing with you is people are more likely to perceive you as intimidating or threatening.
Yeah.
And I've had people
or
who
call
don't
me a
know me
Chad.
say that I look scary or something like that, and I'm like, I'm
I
a
could
very
see
gentle
that.
person. Like,
Yeah.
if you just stop stereotyping me and
You're like,
being
look at me with
ignorant,
this baby chick. Look
yeah,
how,
in
look
my
how
full
nice
pink,
I am.
nurturing my cat and crying next to her every day, but this guy's
Oh.
big and scary because he has tattoos.
Right, dude, you have a cat, so that should
Yeah,
give you a
kitty
lot of
Cleo.
like points. Like,
Yeah.
dude, cats are so controversial because like I actually love cats, but I shared this data about cats one time, and I had a lot of cat people come at me. You know, my friends like. I'm like, well, yeah, that's your. I'm like, this is just data. I'm not saying like,
Yeah,
you know, like I'm
just
like,
facts.
this is what people they look at a picture and then they look at a picture of a guy with a cat and they say these things about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I don't. You know, you could look at the things they say as actually positives because they said the person's probably more neurotic, more intelligent, more. And I'm like, well, those do seem like cat owner qualities.
Yeah, it's possible. There's a correlation.
There's like not always. It doesn't matter. I've seen like really dumb, not intelligent people have cats and love them. So it's like, but it's weird how people perceive things, and then sharing data, which is like supposed to be impartial. People get really
people make it partial.
right. Well, because I get it. Like you said, it's back to that thing. Like, well, what if there's something we're doing? And you bring a bunch of data that shows it's like really bad. I'd be like, shit, I guess I have to think about what I'm doing.
Yeah, you'd have to take it. Science is science.
I know.
Data
That's what I
is
love
data.
about it,
Based
dude.
on the entire scientific method, it is vetted to make things true whether or not you believe them. Science is true. The earth is not flat. We have been to space.
Yes.
These things are facts that we have proven. That's
I
what
know,
science
dude.
is. They prove beyond a reasonable doubt. the
I know.
mechanics
I
of the
love
world.
that stuff because it's like I really like data and I like being proven wrong even sometimes. Like if I thought something, I'm like, oh, I guess
Yeah, thank you for correcting me.
that's a
Please.
better
Yeah.
thing to have for sure.
I'd rather be corrected, and I'm okay with accepting that I don't know things or that I'm wrong.
There's like sayings like that, like would you rather be ignorant? I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's like, I would rather have the ugly truth.
Every time.
Pretty much every time. Like
Most people don't. They want to live in their coddled little perfect environment where they're never to blame for anything and they're never the problem, but that's not the case. It's like, of course, your opinion is biased towards defending yourself. Like how typical.
Always.
It's always. It's never, oh, I'm the problem is the bias. It's always self-preservation.
I
It's
even
just
find
so-
that with like projecting on people.
Yeah.
Like I'll see somebody that has some stuff going for them, and I'll be like, I would fucking do this. I would do like, why don't you? And it's like, no, that's what you want to do. That's what
Yeah.
you're already doing in your own life. Don't make them do the same thing. You know? Like I'll see a kid that's like in shape, and I'm like, bro, you should get on Instagram. You should do this. You could get sponsorships, and and, he might not want to do all that. That's like the shit you're doing right now. So you're trying to get him to do, what you've been successful with. It's weird how we project a lot. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I find like in being a coach actually teaches me not to do that.
Yeah.
Because of like different people's reasons for why they are working out, and they're like, okay, if I was doing that, I would want to look like this, and I would want to get jacked, and I would want to do a show. And I'm like, oh yeah, but he doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
He just wants to feel good and do this.
Yeah.
So I have to think about like his goals, not be like, dude, you could do a show. You could get out, you could do this. Like,
Which is really good practice for being compassionate and empathetic, is being
Yeah.
a trainer or coach in some form or another, because you have to. It's part of the job, unless you're going to be bad at it.
but it is cool watching people build confidence and
Dude,
like
it's so
start.
good.
Even some of my clients will start like, dressing a little different,
Yeah.
feeling better.
Yeah,
like,
showing some more legs, something like that.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're like, it's like, wow, you're like transforming. Because you start feeling more confident, then you can wear things you maybe didn't want to wear before.
Yeah.
You can do the So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's such a big impact because you heard that instance from them, but there is, for every time they tell you they felt a good way about working with you, there's been other instances where they felt good. So they're all day they are elevated because of you. It's so awesome, man.
Another weird one is like having people be like a little bit like, maybe you kind of make people feel bad a little bit, but not like on purpose, but because you're like killing it. So like, shit, I need to step up my game.
There's no good without evil. There's no anything without contrast.
So it's kind of like, but I'm saying like you almost have to kind of be an example of like, oh shit, well he's here, I got to work a little harder.
Yeah, it puts in perspective where you're at when you see someone doing.
Because I do that. I'll be around people at like the body shop, and I'm like, man, these motherfuckers are like killing it. I'm like, I can't slack off.
Yeah, and I'll admit I have kind of that toxic view with like people that like for powerlifters that are better than me. I look at it and my first thought is, oh fuck, he is not that good. And then I realize like that is not what I want to be. That is not true. They worked really hard for that. They earned that. They are not. You know what I mean? But that's our first response, I think.
Oh, I'll think about that like with Taylor Swift. Like there were some people like kind of talking shit, and I'm like, yeah, I really don't like her music either. Yeah. But then it's like, but there's a reason why she is where she is and why she's as successful as she is. Yeah. So like, she's doing something right. Yeah. So I'm not gonna join in and be like, yeah, her music sucks.
And no matter how good or right you are at anything, you will always have somebody that disagrees. Just based on the nature of what it means to be or do anything, is there's contrast. Right. If you have an opinion, there's somebody who doesn't have it.
Well, and also if you are successful, people are going to hate you.
I think people are primed to.
There's people, either people look at someone successful and they look at it as like, I want to take that and let it inspire me. And I'm going to look at that and I want to like emulate that and try to be it. Or there's people that are going to be like jealous or pissed that someone is more successful.
There's two types of people. I've definitely been mostly the latter, unfortunately.
So what you were talking about is catching yourself doing the toxic thing and then correcting that behavior and be like, no, I'm going to change how I see this and get inspired by this guy instead of saying, oh, he's not even there.
You have to recognize in your head that there's a problem with your thought pattern. And like, I am very aware that I have very bad and toxic thought patterns.
Oh, fuck
I'm not better than anybody else. I'm just, saying that I have these problems. I'm being accountable for them and I'm trying to address them. But I think very negative thoughts. I think bad things about people, but I try my best to tell myself that that's not what I want to do. Like, I'll see guys like at the gym, pro guys, and I'm just like, oh, well, his calves or this and that. And I'm like, he's better than me. That's okay that he has something I don't. That is okay for another man to have something that you don't have. That's completely fine. It's not a competition.
It's like, no, I have to have everything.
Yeah, no, they're allowed to be happy. They're allowed to have things you don't. You have things that they don't. It's completely okay. There's no need to compare or judge yourself with anybody else.
It's like the curse of being a human. This is how we're wired.
It's part of our wiring is to be envious of others.
We're wired to try to better ourselves. People are always only happy if they're trying to like, but that's what drives innovation. If we were like a species that was just happy with everything we had, we would have stopped years ago.
Yeah, I think
so. Whatever it is, it's in our wiring that keeps like we wouldn't have microphones, desks, lights because we would have just been stopped on the plains. Like, well, we're very content here with what we have, and we're gonna live out here in the wilderness forever, and nothing would have ever changed. Somebody was like, man, we could do fucking better than this.
This rock, I could do this with this rock.
Yeah, look at the way this rolls. Like you see what now I got this, and then now I got motherfucker's got these rolling things over there that lets him do this shit, and I got nothing. Like I want that, So it's like it's wired into us, dude.
Yeah, that was I forget some scientist was talking about like that was the biggest like separator from us and other animals was our curiosity and our urge to explore. Like we want new frontiers. People are willing to die to just know more.
Right.
That's crazy. That like people wanted to sail to America and died on the way just because they wanted to know what was over there. Our urge to conquer is our greatest like plight and our greatest. Because it's tough because it got us here, but now it's not going to carry us forward. Like the strategies that got us to this point as a species are not going to sustain us much longer, and I think that's interesting. But yeah, human nature, that's very fascinating because there's other species that might not have it. Have you seen any of the Marvel movies or anything like that?
Some of them.
I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy, the recent one, where there was a guy who talked about how humans have, I think it was a creativity and ingenuity that the other species don't have, and that's why we have Earth music was so good, he says, because we have that. And I'm like, there could be other species where they're not even capable of having that kind of experience.
No. Well, even music, you think about that was all like driven by that same kind of thing, like trying to be new, trying to be innovative, trying to be different. We're talking about like, oh, we have to be careful of spite and hate. You wouldn't even have like my favorite bands like Metallica if they didn't hate glam metal and be like, fuck this pussy shit, we're going to be stronger, better than that. Fuck Motley Crue, fuck Poison, fuck this. We're going to be fast. We're not going to do all that hair bullshit and makeup. So they were driven by hate. Like you got Lars Ulrich like throwing the dart at the Winger poster. And now they're older and they're like, that was shitty of us. We shouldn't have been like that. But hey, that's like really what propelled them to, it drove them to create this new kind of music.
Well, you could argue that if they were filled with good emotions, they would have made better music.
Possibly.
I'm not saying that that's true because metal is definitely inspired by a lot of negativity.
Yeah, definitely. It is weird because there is some really good positive music for sure.
There's a lot. Growing up, when I started listening to metal, it was a lot of Christian metalcore, full Christian bands talking about religious things. I remember my mom going downstairs and being like, plugging her ears. I'm gonna go to hell. This is the devil, and I'm like, this band is full, all 5 of them, and these lyrics are about God.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
She's
so
like, no way, I'm going. Like, okay, be ignorant if you would like.
Yeah,
to.
hasn't
That's
she
fine.
ever heard of Striper?
No, I
Remember,
haven't.
Striper was like a totally Christian metal band. I mean, they're more like glam metal, I would say, or like, but they're definitely. There's some people that just love Striper. They had like the yellow and black. They would always wear yellow and black. But yeah, it's all Christian stuff. Well, you know who's big coming on the comeback right now is Creed. And they're not really a Christian band, but he was always like a religious dude. And all of a sudden there's this like research. It's almost like comical.
Yeah, it's memey, but it's working for him. Kind of
it's so memey, but dude, their tour is gonna go crazy because all these people who remember Creed, and even if they maybe kind of thought like, Creed's a little bit lame at some, it was one of those things where there's certain bands you listen to when you're a kid, then you get older and you're like, I'm not listening to that lame shit.
Nickelback.
Like Nickelback. Like I've graduated. I listen to only Tool now. Tool's fucking really deep and cool, which I do love Tool. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying like there's stuff you listen to when you're a kid, and then you kind of graduate to like your taste just gets more and more like I can only listen to like Deftones. It's got to be really fucking deep. Yeah. And it's like. But it's kind of funny because, like, these people, like, even me, like, I just kind of, like, I never hated Creed. I had some of their albums, even. Nickelback, I kind of went through a phase where I did not like them, and I would make fun of them, But now it's almost, like, nostalgic to be like, let's go watch Scott Stapp just be like, just... with my arms wide open. Yeah.
It's funny because, like, they're famous bands. They're objectively good in like they have a career, so it's just funny that there's such a meme about it because I'm like, some of you are joking just for the meme's sake. Like they are successful, so they are objectively good, Oh,
right. Musically they are very good.
Yeah, or else they wouldn't be playing these.
It's just somehow shows. It's because they were popular.
Yeah, and it's lame to like the most popular band.
Right, kind of thing, and they were like popular rock, and they didn't. When they came off the heels of like these bands that were so good, like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, that like. Got popular but weren't trying to be popular. Yeah. So then so of course after that kind of stuff, Creed's going to sound a little bit weak, or like they're trying to sound like that but they're not. So it was just a weird time, but it's funny, like my friend sent me a meme about it, like what's white people's version of something, I can't remember, some like their anthem or whatever. And someone's like, oh, yeah, they always go to this or that. He's like, but we're forgetting about this. And then he starts playing like, can you take me higher? Yeah. Just like bust into the Creed. And it's like, this is it. This is white people's anthem.
Dad rock era, like 3 Doors Down.
Yeah,
Creed.
That's why it was. Yeah. It was from a weird era. So it all gets kind of lumped together. You had like 3 Doors Down. What is it, like Shine Down or like?
I guess I think the biggest
Godsmack was kind of in there.
I think it became a meme because they weren't quite metal, but they weren't quite rock, so it felt like really diet, like seltzer water metal.
They were like diet.
That's why it came from.
Right. It's like diet Pearl Jam or Soundgarden.
Yeah.
So it came after that, and it felt like diet because they were pop. But it's still like really good music. Yeah. Like the instruments.
Most people liked it.
It's so funny, dude. Like, but yeah, it is weird that all of a sudden they're like making this resurgence.
Yeah,
it's funny.
A lot of bands are doing that, I think, because they, like you're talking about before, is they got back to the regular day life after they retired, and they're like, this is not it. I need to go back.
No, and then they realize that like time has actually made people grow fonder and miss them.
Yeah, they'll have a big audience their first few shows just because of
nostalgia. Well, I think like Green Day's about to go on tour too, and it's like that's another one people are going to be like.
I will say, and probably people are not going to like this, I think very overrated musical group.
Green Day?
I think so. I'm not a punk fan, so I'll say I'm biased. I don't really like the genre in general. Yeah. And I guess the timing of music is important. The era they started was probably very crucial to that, but I never understood the diehard Green Day fans.
Oh my God, I can't believe I just,
it was just
yawned like that. I was going to say, I was never a huge fan either, but yeah. I think they're another one, though, they'll do really well right now.
No, for sure. Yeah. They have so many still diehard fans.
Same with who's that Blink 182. I never liked them, but
I didn't get
I can see why people love them.
Yeah,
just wasn't my thing.
I was into the metal back in the day.
It's because the metal ruined us. It's like you get to a certain level, everything else just sounds like
desensitized.
Shit.
I can't listen to something heavy without a dude screaming. I'm just like, he needs to be yelling into my ear now.
Yes, dude.
It's like chasing that never-ending dragon, where you just need heavier and heavier music to get it off.
It's this back to that dopamine.
I started off at Christian metalcore, now I'm at black and deathcore. It's just like
this just isn't doing it.
Heavier music does not exist.
Yeah, it just isn't doing it for me.
Absolutely.
I need more of a fix. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. But what's been going on with you otherwise?
Well, just basically trying to find a way to keep this podcast going because I love it.
Yep.
But I'm training people all the time. So I'm like, it's kind of like learning how to schedule everything.
Yeah.
I was like, what I really need is like an assistant. That's like, they come in, they check all the stuff for like all the stuff we had to do here before. They cut all the clips out, they set the lights up. So I'm just on my schedule, and it's like, Nick, your podcast today with Zach is at 12 o'clock, so be there at 12. And I'll be like, training my clients, doing my own lifts, doing my thing. And I'm like, oh, I got my podcast. I just stroll in. They're sitting over there. They're like running all the equipment.
Our snacks are ready.
Yeah, everything's ready. The drinks are put out. I'm like, someday I'm going to get there.
I would love that. I don't like all those menial tasks like editing, posting.
It's tough, but it's what you got to do right now, right? So like you've been kind of in and out of the social media game, but you know it's like
I know it's
important
value,
to business and stuff.
For better or worse. Especially in this day and era, there's so much power in social media. Because of social media, we are allowed to make a career doing anything. And it's so crazy.
I will say I do like kind of miss your stuff when it's gone because like you are kind of real.
Appreciate that, dude.
You're kind of real on there.
I've been posting a lot more lately. I'm just not engaging as much with fans. And I know this sounds kind of like ooh, you're so popular, but it came to a point now where I just have so many people trying to engage with me that I just can't get to everybody. And I feel really...
It gets overwhelming.
With my OCD, when I don't respond to people, I feel bad. I think about it. I thought about not responding to you just about every day until I did. And that happens with all these people, and it eats me apart. Like, I love you all, but I can't be regular friends with all of you.
It's a lot. It's a lot, dude.
It's like, I'm not a celebrity, but like, I don't know. Brad Pitt can't be friends with everybody that wants to be friends with him.
Imagine that times like the level like when people really blow up. Because I'm like, even at like the small level I'm on there, it's like sometimes it gets to be a lot.
It ruins a lot.
And some of it's my own fault because I post a lot of thirst traps and stuff like that. And so then it's like, well, of course, this is the response I'm getting back, So I have tried to think about like how I'm representing myself.
Yeah.
And you go to like what gets you the most likes, and it's like, well, that's the thing that seems to have grown it the most.
But is that the audience you want?
No, because then my audience is changing into this totally other audience, which is not necessarily great.
Yeah.
Not that they're bad people or anything, but it's like your whole audience is like gay dudes. It's like so I'm like, well, I don't mind that. I like having that audience too. Shout out to all those people that follow me, but I want to have my audience be people like that I can inspire with fitness and like how to work hard and
I think you want more in-depth relationships, I guess.
Yes.
With your fans
so it's getting a little too far to that.
It's a little surface, like, hey man, nice body.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It was too surfacey for me. Yeah, I'm like I'm a surface person. I like all that stuff, but I like science and stuff. I'm like kind of like I can't fit in either world. It's weird. Or I'll try to fit in one world, and then I'm like I don't know.
You're carving your own lane, man. That's okay.
Yeah.
New frontiers where no man has been before is Nick Friedhoff.
Like, I just want to be dumb. I just want to be dumber.
Honestly, I think about that a lot.
Like, dumb myself down.
Ignorance
so
really
I'm just
is
like,
bliss. There's a saying that high intelligence is a big correlation with depression, and it's very true. It's very
I've worked on that, actually, to try to be dumb.
You have to be aware there's things wrong to be sad. You know what I mean? And if you just aren't on that wavelength, you just don't know any better.
Sometimes I will do that. I'll just be like, don't go there. Just, like, stay in the dumb. Yeah. Go towards the dumb,
That's the
bro.
ego defending you to keep you safe.
Just be a dumb pretty boy.
Don't venture towards the light. Stay here.
Yeah.
Fight that. Be thoughtful, Nick. Be who Nick wants to be.
Right.
I believe in you. But, yeah, I can definitely tell you are an intellect, and you crave knowledge and
I do. I hate that part. It's like it's like ruining my life.
It's ruining your old life.
Yeah.
It's
a good thing. Life. It's a good thing. I've always been interested in that. Like, I don't know. Like, even as a kid, like, my favorite stuff was science fiction. And, so there's definitely that part of me for sure.
Yeah.
And then, like, now it's like a lot of philosophy too.
Yeah, honestly, I think when I talk about like discipline and stuff, I think that comes down to philosophy is like my biggest thing. I am all for philosophy, and I would love to be. My dream is to be remembered as a philosopher, as a profound thinker.
Right.
That is my vision.
I do like that idea though. Like, why can't we do both? Like, have, be into fitness and trying to be athletic and be into intellectual stuff. You can. And I think people are changing that now because I think it used to be like a battle between like, your jocks and your nerds, and you had like there was such a like now I feel like it's like different.
Yeah, things are getting more.
That's
diverse.
changed for whatever reason.
Things are getting more diverse. There's a lot more inclusivity. I think a big part of that problem is it's hard to maintain an audience when you're doing so many different things, especially conflicting ideas. It's generally gym goers, hardcore lifters aren't meatheads. It's just not what they do. There's no better or worse. They're just not into that thing. So then when you're like, oh, I also want to talk about science and physics and photons, they just don't understand, and that's when you lose followers. I noticed that when I started getting away from posting just lifting content, some people stopped watching, and that's okay.
But I think that's okay because I think what happens is you start thinking about only posting based on what you think that people want to see.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just kind of be yourself, I feel like...
Yeah. That's why I wanted to start deleting the app and stop watching the metrics, because I'm like, I just want to post what I want to post. And I think if you're authentically you, in time, people will come.
So I'm on that lane because I was like that with music too. Like I had these issues with music where like I wanted to write just stuff that I wanted to write, and it started turning into like, well, we have to write things like this because this is what will get you popular, or this is what you have. Like there was a certain like formula, like this is nowadays how you have to write a song because of
boring.
The streaming. It has to catch people's like boring. It has to catch people's attention in the first 10 seconds. Otherwise, it's like, and I'm in my head thinking like, I just posted that thing like, so people who are like making money on Spotify, they're getting 0.003 cents per stream. So in order to even make $3,000, they have to have 1 million streams.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so really none of the shit you just said matters at all. But what if we just make this really cool music that we love anyway?
That's all that matters.
And not try to turn it into a product. 'Cause, I mean, that's what you want. You want it to take off. But then I see all these things like from Rick Rubin has this new book. He's a producer who I really like. Rick Rubin, he's worked with Red Hot Chili Peppers. He worked with Metallica. And he's saying all these things where I just feel totally justified, which it doesn't really justify me because maybe that's just his opinion. But, things like the thinking about the fans or the people that are going to consume your product only comes into play during the sharing of the product, not the creation of the product. So he's basically saying like you don't think about what you think people want to hear from you while you're creating it. You just create it, then you share it, and then you see what happens. Yeah. So like because otherwise it taints it because you're not writing what you want to write and you're not saying what you want to say. You're changing it to a product that you think people want to hear based on whatever data you somehow concocted in your mind. So like same way with like your Instagram, like, well, I think people only want to see these kind of videos. So if I post more of those, then my numbers will go up, and then this. But it's like, it's like you're always just and then you're not really being your authentic self.
Yeah. I have a problem with that. I definitely obsessively check metrics and stuff, and it's lately I've been posting more like on threads and like philosophy stuff, and it's a little disheartening to see like my viewership go down. Like I posted this thing the other day, and it said like 6 likes when it was a really powerful message. And I'm like, my fans, like, I get angry because I'm like, it's so sad because you're not interested in being, like, they don't even, and it's not on the radar, they don't care, and it's just,
that's the weird thing about the one negative, so, like, you could have this amazing message, share this most heartfelt thing, or even write a song that just, like, ripped your soul out, and, you share it with people, and it gets, like, 5 likes.
Yeah, and mostly because the algorithm just didn't share you around. So
yeah, and if I go post a shirtless selfie that looks like a thirst trap, that'll get 100 likes.
Yeah, it's upsetting. Like, I'll post...
So it almost directs you in that way.
It encourages you,
It encourages you.
You don't want those kind of people following you.
It's funny, though, because, like, that's what happened to me when I was taking those mushrooms. I started posting some weird shit. And I was like, oh my God, what did I just post? Yeah, I was like,
that's your authentic self.
I'm like, shit. I was like, I'm feeling gorilla
just
today.
Just get a thumbs down on the stream.
Oh shit. Someone
made somebody upset. I'm not sure what we
I don't even know what that is. What is that? People are watching?
Upset. The 1 or 2 viewers.
Are people even watching? Let's look.
Yeah, let's look.
Oh yeah, we got like 1 viewer streaming.
I don't know what we said to upset them, but oh well.
I don't know what that is. I've never seen those things pop up on the screen before, so that's like a totally new thing.
I assume that's viewership interacting with us.
Really? So like someone just thumbs down me?
Yeah.
Well, the one person watching? Bro.
I hope you have a wonderful day, thumbs down person.
Yeah, thumbs down.
Either way.
No, it's probably somebody really cool that we know, actually.
Yeah, right? Like our best friends, but...
But, yeah, it's so weird, dude. Like, but that shouldn't stop you from sharing those things.
It shouldn't. I think if you are truly your authentic self, in a matter of time, everybody will just come to you. It might be slow at first, so I'm just dealing with that phase of like, okay, well, maybe the current followers I have don't like this message, but the ones that I have are more in line with my goals and my vision, and they will be a better audience in the future. So you kind of have to go through that awkward in-between phase.
Yes, because the people that you want are going to stick, and the people that you didn't even want.
Yeah, it filters it out. It filters out.
And then you just have to have the longevity game of like, you just got to stay here, and then it's going to go here one day.
Keep making contact.
But you're going to be here for a long time.
And then you'll probably...
It's not like this. It's not a slow up. It's like a nothing, 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 and then...
Yep.
That's usually how it goes. So it's like... But being yourself, I think, is super important.
I think it's super important. I think that humans, as nature, intuitively are good. All of us. Things just go wrong down the road. So I believe if you are authentically self, you will be default good, and those will want to be around you, and good things will follow you.
I agree with that.
I think the basic of it is to just be who you truly are.
Yep.
Regardless of the consequences, and you will always be good. And I think all evil comes from people not being themselves, from repressing things that they love. I believe that all evilest people were good at when they came out of the womb, but something went wrong and they weren't themselves, because I don't think any human is by nature evil. Some people might disagree, be like, oh, this killer's this. Well, I think when they come out, they were good and something went wrong, and that's okay. Probably. You can humanize these people and accept that they were good at some point and still be upset with what they did. It doesn't make it any different.
And most people who do bad actually think they're doing good. So that's
the good versus evil relativity thing.
You got your, what is that in the Marvel movie? That's, what's his name, with the snap of the finger thing. Like,
I think he was the hero if you look at it.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
If what he said was true, if what Thanos said was true, and all life will suffer, if he didn't do it, then they did the good thing, and the Avengers were the bad guys. I posted a big thing about it where the Avengers are actually the bad guys in everything in these universes.
Yeah, it's how you look at it, right?
They're fucking everything up. They're messing everything up because, Thanos wanted to do something good. You need to do the hard thing first.
I'm pretty sure there's like funny skits like that where like it's like, Batman destroys everything and then it's like, thanks. But like the whole city's destroyed.
That's kind of what it is. It's like, imagine in the Avengers where they undid Thanos' snap, and then in 100 years everyone is starving and suffering, and then they're like, oh, Thanos was right, It's just very possible.
Damn, that is a really weird way to think about it.
Yeah, I posted a while ago I did a rant about this whole thing.
I don't think I saw that.
Because there's also Loki, who in a series says that he wanted to enslave Earth because we had too much free will and it was causing us unhappiness. And I'm like, well, if he's right, which he's got some valid points, then he was doing good.
Well, that is funny because people who are politicians say that a lot. Like, if you're going to be a leader, like how much easier it would be to get things done if you could just be a dictator. Yeah. You know how much faster you could probably fix certain problems. Yeah. But then who's to say if you were a dictator that you would actually want to help anybody?
Problems, By the nature of the position, you generally aren't somebody.
You'd want to help yourself.
Based on being a dictator. Unless you were like that lawful good. I'm taking control and I'm really going to help everybody, but that doesn't really.
That sounds so.
By taking control, you are by proxy probably not in good ethics with yourself.
Yeah, it just sounds unbelievable,
But I do think we need some form of new leadership. My dream is that maybe I'll be the president of Mars someday or something like that.
That would be sick.
We need a change. I don't think anybody who's been in a running for this country's president in a long time was the right one, and I think it's embarrassing. I'm so embarrassed to see these people being candidates.
Oh, yeah.
Oh none of these people have our best interest in mind. Not a single fucking one.
No, it's like every time a bomb goes off, their bank account goes up. That kind of shit.
And then you look at it and like those people probably are puppets and it doesn't matter either. And then there's even worse people behind the scenes.
Well, they're beholden to the donors who donate to them.
Which
is
a
donor class. So like, are they making these decisions, or is who is funding their campaign is probably actually.
And that big evil is because money is allowed to affect your presidential campaign and what sway you have. I think it should be like the game White Elephant, where you have a limit.
Yeah.
Like $50,000 for your campaign is a limit. If you go over it, you're out of the
There's
race.
supposed to be a limit. It's like only 3,000, right? Like,
yeah, bullshit. I see these guys going.
But they do these things called super PACs.
Yeah, and then
they all link all these things together, and then it's one thing.
Yeah, they're going through loopholes so that they can break the rules. It's just disgusting.
Yeah.
I think if you had your best interest in mind, we should be able. If the country had its own best interest in mind, we would let that not be a thing.
Yeah, super PACs should not be a thing.
Your income should not increase your probability of being a leader of the country. That's especially because these people can't even relate to most of us anyway. So how can they even form?
They can't really. They can't govern because they're so dude. There's so many cases where like there's something going on and you'll hear them like discussing it. It's like they don't even know what they're talking about.
A lot of these presidents were rich their whole life. You are not capable of understanding the perspective of people who weren't in that situation. You're down a different rut, but we're letting those people run, and it's just that's why we're in the situation that we're in. And these people are so I don't know.
It's messed up.
It's messed up. It's frustrating.
Yeah, the money in politics, the super delegates, or not super delegate, but the super PAC stuff is pretty bad.
I think it is.
So who's really running the country? Probably like the top 5 corporate. They make all. Well, that's going to be inconvenient for our company, so we're not going to let that happen.
Which is the biggest thing. My investors aren't interested in supporting me if I don't pass this law that's going to help them make financial cuts. Right. And that's what is happening. And the frustrating is everybody knows it. We'd
have way better products too if they were, not controlled by
monopolized.
Because then we, the consumers, would kind of decide more. Because so it's like, if there was something unhealthy or on this, we wouldn't want it because we know it's bad for us, but not if they're controlling it.
Yeah, they're making millions and they have their hands in the politicians' pockets. And
why do we have this in the water? Well, they're making money doing it.
I think that's the only reason why a lot of things are the way they are and why the food industry is the way it is. It's because of money.
That would help the food industry a lot because there's a lot of money going around, I think. So I think that would we'd have better regulations for food. So it would be less toxic stuff in our food.
Yeah. So most food is toxic. Most processed food is not.
It's the processes they put it through that mess it up. Yeah,
because we as humans factually did not evolve to eat processed foods. So this is why we're all getting sick and fat. This is not what we evolved to do. I don't know why.
It's not.
The only reason why it's allowed is because people make money off of it.
Right.
That's the only reason why. And then also because we're so addicted. So many people will fight back and say, oh, it's wrong for you to take away my food because I have the choice. And it's like, you are sucked into this trap. You are a victim to this. You are just so clouded to think that it's actually okay for you. Junk food is fine in moderation.
No.
For the record.
It's like what we were talking about earlier.
I'm not saying processed foods are bad. Do not clip me. Do not at me.
They'll just clip out that part. He said everything's bad.
But excess is bad. Eating processed food in excess is factually bad for you. There's no fight.
It's bad.
There's no fight for this.
No, you can see it. You can see it in our population.
And in digestion. I know a lot of people with digestive issues, just irritability, and it's because we're fighting stuff in our body that we can't digest.
Oh, our stomach health is just messed up. You know what's weird too? Then I think a lot of people don't even know what it is to feel good because they're so used to feeling shitty that they think that's normal.
Yeah.
And so if you were like, oh man, I want to I ate this, I shouldn't have. I just can't wait to get back on my healthy food because you know what it feels like to feel better.
Yeah.
And well, why don't you should just be able to eat what you want. And it's well, I can eat what I want, but I know what that's going to make me feel like. So I'm choosing to feel better. Yeah.
And you can eat what you want in terms of, have you ever heard of intuitive eating before?
Yeah.
It's the idea that you eat what you want when you want. And the idea of that is not to let yourself indulge. It's the fact that if you tell yourself that foods aren't bad, and I'm allowed to have them,
and I'm actually hungry for this,
and you sate them, you are not going to reinforce this idea of I can't have this, and then you rebound. It's like you ever see kids where they say they were disciplined a lot, and then they wake up, they get older to be rebellious. If you don't restrict yourself, you're not nearly as likely to indulge. Yep. So this bad mentality of all junk food's bad, I can't have it, forces us to rebound.
No, because I got to have a little bit of that stuff.
You have to let yourself have them, and then when you slowly feed the beast, once a week you eat junk food, you'll be okay. But if you say, I'm never going to do it, it's bad, you're going to you're probably going to
you do see that a lot too in clients where they want to restrict so much and then they binge.
It happens.
Restriction leads to binging. So
it does.
You're restricting too much. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you just would get on you're eating I would always say more protein, satiating foods regularly. Mm-hmm. So there's this idea well, I'm unhappy with my body and I don't feel good. So I'm going to starve myself, eat only salads, not lift, only do cardio.
Yeah.
And they're basically putting themselves in this
death mode
recipe to be undernourished, skinny fat, not building any muscle, but then anytime then they're so hungry that they'll eat one thing and it causes a binge. And then then of course they're going to store it as fat because their body's in a bad,
it thinks
not
it's
in a
gonna
healthy.
Die, so it's not going to burn it. It's going to store it all, and that's that's the essence of training your metabolism. People don't understand.
So sometimes when you put people on a meal plan, they're like, I have to eat this much. It's
believe it or not, yes, the secret to losing weight is learning to eat more.
Is eating more and be
to
okay
train your
with
metabolism
it.
up. Your metabolism is static, and it does change.
Yep. So they're like, damn, I have to eat all this. It's you have to eat all that, and you're going to feel good.
Yeah, that's when you get the people.
And you're still in a deficit. Whoa.
You ever hear I ate this thing and I gained so much weight, and I'm like, you are so ignorant to what is going on here. You did not get fatter.
They think it's just one thing.
You did not do that. It's not how this works.
Yeah, it all works together. It's not like you just ate oh my God, I ate one thing and I gained 10. That's not how it works.
And if you do have weight gain from eating a little bit in excess, that will go away if you didn't starve yourself. It's because, like you said, when you were starving yourself and you finally give yourself food, your body says, I'm going to die. I need this influx of nutrients. I'm going to store it as fat so I don't die.
Yeah,
and that's why people hit stalemates in their body weight loss, because they're just continuously in the cycle. And that's the importance of cheat meals, off meals. I don't like cheat meals. I like refeed, because that's really what the principle is.
Yeah, calling it a cheat always makes, because that could
there's
lead
a negative
to
connotation.
The guilt.
They're on plan. They're allowed. Your coach wants you to have them. It's not a cheat. It's a cheat if you eat too much or have it on the wrong day.
It's a refeed.
But if it's according to plan, it's a refeed, and it is good for you. And people don't like that answer either. Like, what do you mean? Once a week I can eat a bunch of food? Like, yes.
Yeah.
And your metabolism the next day, you're very likely to be really fucking hungry the next day, because your body's going to say, okay, I got food. Let's keep it going.
Right.
And that's what happens. Otherwise, it keeps going down, and your body's saying, oh, I'm starving. I'm going to die. 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 Fat.
Because you're messing up the metabolism.
Yeah, you're destroying it. Your body doesn't know you're starving on purpose. It doesn't know.
No.
It thinks that you are being deprived of nutrients, and it needs to do what it needs to do.
And we're still kind of like, I mean, our systems are based off these, how we evolved.
We're on old
like
software.
Feast or famine, we're actually like designed to seek out sugar, fat, anything, and just eat as much as we possibly can. Because we didn't, in history, we wouldn't have come upon that only but rarely. And so, of course, our bodies would want to store as much of it, because they would. That's how we're designed. We're not designed for abundance.
We are hardwired to be undisciplined by definition.
Yeah.
That is everything it means.
But our lives were so hard, so the system worked well under those harsh conditions.
It worked, but now we're a little bit.
But now that we're in soft conditions, our system is like.
We need to upgrade our hardware. It's like now we're trying to run like the new Call of Duty on a 93 Mac Windows or something like that. It's just not working, and that's why.
I wonder what the next thing will be of like evolution.
Might be artificial intelligence, honestly, or perhaps we'll just continue to ascend as a species in terms of our ability to control ourselves, because that's something that can evolve without like genetic evolution, is cultural views and cultural biases. So perhaps in 20 years we'll all be accepting that we have traumas and we're flawed and that we can do better, and then we'll be okay.
Even if our bodies, they haven't changed for thousands of years, like our genetic makeup, but our culture, how that could change.
And that shapes our minds. How you think and how you talk and how you speak it's been proven to alter your neural pathways. This is a fact. So it's so important, and that can help us kind of
imagine a better society and culture where we're like not all in this like low vibration. Like
I imagine it all the time.
I always think about how that would work, because I don't, there's the idea of like a utopia, but then those usually come with some kind of scary underneath.
Yeah,
like it looks all good on the outside, but there's something suffer. Like someone's,
someone's taking advantage somewhere.
Yeah, there's something like shady going on in the under. Like there's a lot of shows like that where like they come upon some utopian society. And
a lot of books growing up. We read a lot.
This is amazing, and then it turns out they have like people in the basement that they're like sucking the blood out of to like stay young forever.
We read a lot of those. 1984 was the Ant Farm movie. I did a book. I didn't read that one myself, but there was a bunch. The Giver was another one. Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
And I kind of wish that we didn't read all those, because I think it gave the bad idea in people's head that utopia is not possible without corruption. But I think it's possible. I think
we could do a lot better.
I think we can. I think humans can do 8 times better than what we're doing right now, because this is just not acceptable. The way
this is not, dude. With all these people suffering and stuff, there's got to be a better way.
I think over half the population of the globe has got to be suffering in some capacity, and most of it we don't see. You think of these third world civilizations, like India, with the population is so large. You know how many people are suffering, and just we're not hearing from them. It's so sad, and it's all because someone out there is not being their authentic self, and it's affecting everybody else downstream. And it's usually the people in power that are causing this to happen, because they have the most sway.
Yes. Well, they're in control of everything.
They're in control of everything, and they are working in their own preservation, and it's disregard for a lot of us. I posted the other day saying that I'll feel good about a leader when we have a leader that I think would put the needs of the country over his own families, and I don't think we've seen that. I think every person we've had will turn us in to save their family, and that's not the trait of a good leader,
Well, and there's always that thing, like most people who would probably be the best leaders
the ones who
don't want to lead.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
People want the
in
power.
Dune, they say, what is it? A great leader does not seek leadership, it is thrust upon him. And I got chills, and I teared up when I heard that quote, because I resonated so hard with that.
That's
the people that are seeking power do not have the right to carry it. You do not have what it takes if you are seeking power.
Because they want it too much.
Because, you want it too much. You, by definition,
and for the wrong reasons.
For the wrong reasons. I'm not saying that I'd be a better leader than anybody necessarily. I just maybe would like a shot at some.
They always say there's that you don't really know, or like you're. I saw this really interesting thing about like your own inadequacy is blinding you to how corrupt you would actually be. So like you actually don't know how corrupt you'd be till you were in that position, but you're not even good enough to be in that position to find out if you were corrupt or not. So like if you have all the power and you're still able to not be corrupt, now you have something moral you can stand on. But if you're like a nobody and there's no chance you're ever going to even have those opportunities, and you're casting a moral judgment, you don't really know what you would do in that situation. You might act just as bad. Yeah. You know, so I'm always like try to be a little careful with that stuff.
It's easy to say you wouldn't unless you're in that position. I think.
Right.
Remember what was his name? Tiger Woods, a golfer who had all these affairs, and people.
That's who they talked about.
Yeah, and some guy said, "Well, if you had 25 women models throwing themselves at you,
you
every
don't
day,
know.
You'd be likely to maybe make the same choice. You just only got your girl who won't sleep with you. So of course it's easy for you to say that you turn it down.
If you're some nobody that can't get any girl to look at you, it's easy to look at Tiger Woods and be like, what a fucking asshole.
I'm
it's
not
like,
condoning
if even one of those girls looked at you, you'd do the same damn thing.
Absolutely. Imagine every day, day in and day out, and you have enough money to do mostly whatever you want. Like,
it'd be really hard to be a morally good person unless...
when you don't have the option.
And it's way easy to sit on the sidelines without any of those girls after you and be like, what a fucking dick, bro. I would never do that.
So I'm okay with saying
you really wouldn't? Let's bring in 20 beautiful women and see how good you do. See how you hold up against that,
It was absolutely
right.
So I'm okay with accepting that I might be worse if I were in that. I'm not ignorant enough to disbelieve that.
But you'd hope that you'd have some certain things are like.
And I would truly hope that if I were ever in a position of power and I acted wrongly, that I would have the accountability to admit it and continue on and maybe let somebody else with a better control of themselves to be able to handle that situation. And I think that's what a true leader is. A true leader wants what's best for the people, regardless if it's from them, if they're the leader or whatever. Same thing with coaching, is if you want what's best for your clients, it doesn't need to come from you. If you are afraid to defer to other trainers or coaches for help, then you're insecure and you're guarding something, because you should want what's best for your client. It doesn't matter. Right. It really doesn't matter. Well,
I have a client, he started and he's doing really well, but when I first met him, I wasn't sure. I was like, he mentioned something about like, wanting to get in a certain amount of shape or whatever. And I was like, well, are you trying to actually do like, shows? Like, because I'm like, if you're trying to do like a show, I would actually refer you to a coach that would be like a contest prep coach.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing that with you. I could get you halfway there. Yeah. But no, when you get to it, like, so that's the thing. You have to like find other people who are professionals. Same with somebody that wanted to do a powerlifting competition. I wouldn't teach them that. I would send them to like you or Sam.
You had to delegate.
Like, I'd find other professionals who I work great with, who I respect, that I can have to refer each other to. Even if it's a massage therapist or if it's this or that, like that's powerful as a coach because you need those people and then you help each other.
It's a sign of maturity and a sign that you authentically want to help your clients. If you don't want to defer to other people, you are not interested in helping your clients solely. You're trying to help yourself.
Selfish. Yeah.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but can I hit the restroom?
Oh, let's do it, dude. Let's do it. Yeah. We can always cut this part out. Yep. You're good, man. We're just gonna leave it rolling, and
there's probably like one guy watching as I just break everything.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It's all right, dude. Yeah. So he's in the restroom right now. I don't think anybody's watching anyway. So, one person. But so he'll be back soon. But at podcast, you got to have a potty break sometimes. You only got such a good bladder. But there we go. All right, here we go, dude. Don't worry, I'll cut that part out for the Spotify.
Manscaped ad over it or something.
Oh, well, yeah. That's what I'll put the Manscaped ad in there. There you go. All right, everybody, welcome back. We're gonna take some time to jump to our sponsors.
Thank you for your patience, everybody. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. There's one person watching. I think we're all right.
Yeah. So, I guess what's new in my life.
Yeah, there you go.
after the surgery is I'm actually going to be probably at the body shop a lot more often. The gym that I was training at up till now,
Right.
I've recently had a change of employment plan, so I'm going to be at body shop a lot more. So you'll probably see me there, and then I'll also be beginning taking clients at a facility that's opening up on the 4th called Elevar Pole Fitness.
Okay.
They are a gym as well as training people for pole dancing, but it is a place that is they're promoting holistic wellness for women and inclusivity, and I'm very honored to be there. A lot of my clients are females, so it's a really good environment for me to be in. So I'm just giving them a plug. They'll be opening up on the 4th, and it'll be pretty empty at first, so if you want free gym gear to yourself, come to that
interesting.
place. So
The pole dancing.
yeah, I'm not much into that myself, as you can imagine, but I think it could be a good discipline to train, a good skill to have.
Oh, I'm sure it's hard. I remember they had it at like the Arnold one year. There was like pole dancing. And it's
As
like
a competition?
Yeah, it was there
Interesting.
also. Yeah, it was like in Columbus, Ohio. There was pole dancers.
Without weights?
Yeah, no way. It was
put
just
ankle
like
weights on.
a separate thing they had
Extreme
going
dancing.
on. Yeah, I mean that's some like tough stuff, dude.
A lot of core and arm strength involved in that. I definitely don't think that my arm would be able to handle any of that biz right now. I think I touched that guy.
That's all right. It's so weird. It's like it just gets like disconnected.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to a few little kinks we got to work out, but we're back. We're happy to be back in the new studio.
Bad kind of kinks. These are not the good kind
Not
of
the
kinks.
good kind of kinks. Yeah. We're not gonna kink shame anybody.
No,
here
we
on the
are
show,
not.
so.
Unless it's criminal, I guess. And hurts
Well,
them.
yeah,
Then,
it's
then
like-
perhaps we might shame you a little.
If you're into animals or something, then no, we don't condone that. None of that.
Oh, and I've also got into touch with another hobby, video gaming.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I got, I don't know if you saw, I posted this handheld I got. It's like a Steam Deck, but it's basically a massive PSP. And
It looked like a PSP.
It plays every Xbox game I've ran and every PC game I've ran. The thing is nuts.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm playing games on just like laying anywhere I want. Go to the treadmill and I'm pulling out an Xbox.
Dude, that's not even fair.
Yeah.
It reminded me of PSP, which PSP was actually like crazy at the time. Like,
yeah, that was the frontier.
it was literally like I have a PlayStation in my hands. It was so weird.
And you can go to the internet. That was my introduction to Wi-Fi, I think, because that was the first device I had that had Wi-Fi. So I remember walking around the neighborhood and using neighbors' Wi-Fi just so I could surf the web.
No way.
So me and my brother would be walking around looking at all
Just
kinds
looking
of
for free Wi-Fi.
terrible things on the internet in front of my neighbors' houses.
Oh yeah.
And nobody had passwords at the time because nobody knew any better.
No, so that's like the beginning, basically.
That was the beginning.
of like Wi-Fi, the internet.
The beginning of my mental decline.
Yeah, well, that's like the internet's not necessarily healthy for us. So.
It's not, but it does open up a lot of avenues. Like our careers are. Well,
I think there's cool things. Our careers. One thing I like about it is it actually like makes corruption harder to do.
That's true
because everything is caught. Like the minute like you have people try to lie about something, like, well, this is what happened. It's like actually no, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Because there's like civilians with cameras. Like here's what's actually happening. It's like. You just told us this was happening, but I see you with my own two eyes.
More accountability, and you're right. You're right.
Isn't that weird? That's like an unintended consequence.
I've seen that. Like I scroll through YouTube and see a lot of news on there, and it's like with George Floyd, this guy who killed him. These things, if social media wasn't so prominent, he might have gotten away with it.
Oh, probably.
People were pissed, and it's all because this information proliferated, and that connectivity is so good.
Yeah, so they were able to catch that on camera.
Yeah, but honestly, if they didn't and it wasn't spread, the cops would have just swept it under, and nobody would have heard anything about it. And I think that that's really powerful, and I think that it'll help us with our political overturn.
Well, it's making propaganda harder.
It's making propaganda harder. It's exposing people, and it's making it harder for people to just hide things.
It is.
I think it's good for a lot of reasons. Like people who deserve to be canceled, it's because of the internet. I'm sure some people don't, but that's a whole thing. But
that's such a deep case by case what does canceled even mean? You know what I mean? Like canceled does it. Sometimes it's just consequences for something you did, and there are
which you deserve, and I believe it's really empowering. I know that sometimes whenever I do something, and I'm like, oh, if I was wronged, I could put it on YouTube, and everybody would, you know what I mean, or get revenge for me, kind of thing. Because there's a few instances like that where I saw there was this guy on the news recently who went up to a food stand of I believe an Indian man, and was just screaming a bunch of really profound stuff. And they put it online, and they found out that he was a politician. He was in the Obama administration. And they canned this dude, and I'm like, this is because of the internet. That this pig gets to suffer. Because my God. Like, good. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, what he said was so
ignorant and terrible. I got so angry. I'm like, and it just makes white men look terrible because that's just disgusting.
That was a case where like that was a good thing that got shown.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what he said, but it was terrible.
He just said a bunch
like,
of.
It
he
wasn't
said like, "Oh, you want to?"
It wasn't enough kids killed, basically.
Yeah, that's what he said. Not enough kids killed in this incident.
To justify it, which
for
I
no
get.
reason.
Passions are high on both sides of that situation.
But this man working at the scene has nothing to do with it because of his nationality. Like the guy is disgusting.
Well, right, and when we're talking about civilians, saying that it's okay that they're dying is not okay.
That's not okay.
On either side.
It's not okay. It's absolutely terrible. So if that guy's listening somewhere, I think you are a special, in a bad way, case. That's all I'll say.
Well, it's messed up. It's like that thing about like, if there was like a murder in a building, but there's like 25 innocent people, and you're just like, oh shit, let's kill the murderer. We'll bomb the building. We just killed 25 innocent people. We wouldn't be okay with that.
Well, that's that debate with Marvel, for the greater good. Like, that's what that is. It's like it's okay to take a loss if it's for the greater good. Is the reasoning? I'm not saying that that's okay.
Yeah, right.
That's
but
just their logic.
I don't think we'd be okay with that, though. Yeah.
I would have a hard time with that. But I believe that in the perfect world, violence is never the answer. That's just what people will revert to because they have to.
Isn't that weird that we're still fighting wars?
I think it's pathetic as a human species that we're still fighting.
We're this far along and we're still just killing each other.
Every politician trying to kill people and fight wars is pathetic.
Well, and it's never them. They're always sending other people's kids,
of course, to do it for them.
To do it for them.
And it does take two to tango. If you're another country is going to be aggressive and they won't give you an option, you might.
Sometimes you have to do things.
But that's just because they're not being their authentic self and they're causing you to respond in this way. And it takes everybody to cooperate. It takes two to tango, kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Sometimes things certainly are necessary. But there was like this saying. It was like war is weird because it's like I can't remember whose quote this was, but it was like. War is like two young people who don't hate each other, killing each other on behalf of two older people who do hate each other, who aren't killing each other.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's like
that's interesting.
These two rulers hate each other. Yeah. But they're sending these young people who don't have anything against each other to kill each other on behalf of them, and they're not killing each other.
And they're in their homes.
Yeah, they're really just. That's another thing where we're talking about. It gets really easy for people to sit around and be like, "We need to do this, we need to do that," and it's like you're in a bubble of safety, knowing that you will never have to be the one to go fight, but you're calling for these young people to have to go fight. Yeah. And it's like, shit, man. Maybe peace is the actual better.
Peace truly is the option. It's just humans can't handle it right now.
Right.
Everybody knows peace is the answer. We shouldn't have.
It's the best one. It's not always possible.
It is, but people aren't willing to do what it takes. And I think the biggest thing is because peace involves that everybody at some point is going to have to sacrifice something that they don't need to, so somebody else can have something. And that is the biggest problem because nobody is willing to give up something so that other people can have more. I guess I'll clarify. Nobody is willing to give up and sacrifice so that somebody they don't know can have more.
Right.
And that's what it is because I know a lot of people that complain about, welfare projects and stuff, and the thing is, it's my money, blah, blah, blah. I want to keep it. But if this person was starving in front of you and authentically needed help, you'd be much more likely. It's because you don't see them. You can just brush it aside. It's nothing. Easier. Yeah. And it's easy for you to say that. And it's also easy to judge. You shouldn't be able to judge. You should not judge somebody based on their financial situation. You don't know what's going on.
I mean, most people are this close to that.
I am literally 1 millisecond away from homelessness.
Well, it could happen at any time, and we might even be doing okay. Even
it's a loss of a
job.
You
could even be doing okay in America, and you're still like only a few bad situations away.
Or even one. Let's say, knock on wood, there's a fire. You don't have insurance. But you had plenty of income, but now your home's gone. What are you going to do? Now you're homeless, and there's plenty of those people. Yeah. But then you see guys judging panhandlers, and I'm like, you have no clue what this person's been through. Maybe they were working really hard. They got divorced. They lost everything. They didn't have a choice.
It's like that Beatles line, like "I am you and you are me," and
I believe that. I think
we are all together. Because like you are that person, and just in a different.
I think every living being is the same soul, and I think that every person you see around you is a fracture, a reflection of
what you could be.
I think, and same thing. I think about this with you. Is I think, what do I think about Nick? How would I help his life, and how can that impact mine? And I've noticed that every time I think of the people I love, and I think of how they could improve their life, if I did the same thing, my life would be better.
Right, dude,
every single time. And every trait that you don't like about somebody is also a
reflection of what you don't
like.
You
will not
yourself.
Dislike traits that you do not personify in some capacity because it won't phase you. It doesn't relate to you. It's nothing.
Well, it's like when I get disgusted and I hate people for being like lazy and stuff. It's because I hate that part of myself.
Part of you relates to that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I hate that part of me. Like if I get lazy or this,
but people
or that.
don't like that. They're like, "Oh, I hate this guy because he's this or that," and that's actually you. You are projecting that upon yourself. The world around you represents the state inside.
It's like a mirror of you, kind of.
It is a mirror of you, and I truly, truly believe that. The saying of "you are the average of the 5 people around you" is the other way around. The 5 people around you closest to you are the average of you.
That's interesting.
It's not the other way around. They are you, and it's interesting because you think about in movies when you're in a dream state. You see people, they get messages from the universe, and it's like other people in the dream talking to them or this and that. I'm like, that's what we're in right now.
Yeah.
Other people giving advice or talking about their thing, that's the subconscious telling you what to do.
Right.
You know?
That is so true what you just said, though, about we can give so much better advice to other people that if we followed it ourselves.
That's your subconscious giving the advice to you.
yourself.
You just need to listen.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely,
so crazy.
and that's the way it's helped me a lot because I live with my cat, for example. I watch my cat behavior, and I realize I'm like, okay, if by proxy she's a manifestation of me, what does she need to do better? Well, my cat's aggressive. She isolates herself, and she needs to spend more time desensitizing herself by socializing with people. And I said,
Yeah.
that's me.
Yeah, dude, I get that.
And then I see people like,
It is good for you to socialize, even when you're kind of introverted. It's like
you need to get out there and desensitize yourself, or else you're just gonna.
that's why I love my job at the bar because I get to like actually go out and you get skills from talking with people. You know what I mean? Like it's not always fun, but you know. But you're so right. Like it's always like some reflection of you.
It's always some, and like it hurts, but you have to admit it. Where there's people I don't like. Like I'm not a Donald J. Trump fan. I think he has a big ego. I think he's a narcissist. And then I thought, I'm like, why don't I like him?
It's
because I
you.
have an ego and I'm a narcissist, and he is just that's just a really strict, representation.
It's like
of,
the caricature of him.
Yeah, that's the pure concentrate. I'm just a different version of that, and I'm like, I don't like that because I'm partially that.
So the parts you didn't like about him are the stuff in yourself almost.
Exactly, and you have to be okay with that. But people say, "Oh, I don't like him," and I'm like, "I'm not like that," and I'm like, if you really just be honest with yourself. There's no reason to not be honest with yourself. It's you. I'm not, I guess I'm out in the world telling everybody right now, but you
it's
don't
like
have to
he's
tell
a lazy
people.
slob. And
You don't have
like,
to tell people you have these traits. You don't. You can keep it to yourself and just be honestly accountable at being the best you that you can be.
Dude, that's a really interesting thing. Like
I see
realizing that you hated that guy because it's parts of you that it reminds you of.
Yep. And I think when you're on your free time after this, think about every person you don't like. And I'm sure if you're honest with yourself, you can confirm that some of that is part of you.
How many people do you not like, if you had to count?
I guess I don't hate anybody. I guess I just prefer being around certain people. But I don't think I innately hate anybody. I wish everybody well, regardless of if they've wronged me or not, because it's not a representation of me. It's their trauma. It's their issues.
And when you remind yourself that, it's easier to let it go.
Nobody. There's not many things that are personal, and even if it is, that's their own representation of how they are. I think people that are well and happy and fulfilled don't wrong other people. Period.
No, they don't. They don't. You're right. No, I think that's true, and that's what's tough. That's why, like, I try not to, fight poison with poison, because it's like then you're just kind of becoming just the same.
You are becoming that. Your mind is shaped by the way that you use it.
So they abused me and treated me this toxic way. If I do it back to them, then how am I any better?
You're not. You're the same thing. You're doing it. It doesn't. It's a vacuum. What they did doesn't matter. That doesn't change anything.
Right.
Same thing with politics, where people say like, "Oh, well, Biden did this, so Trump's better." I'm like, they're both criminals. Just because one dude did something doesn't mean the other's better.
I think
they're both fucked. They're both terrible options. Just because I don't like
two
one
bad options,
does not mean I pick the other. I didn't vote for it. I didn't vote because all of the options sucked.
Wow, and it's
they were
always
terrible.
the same thing.
And it's always the same thing. You're choosing between piss and shit every election. And it's
that was
pathetic.
even back in the Bush era.
It was always, and we're always choosing between the lesser evil. Like which one is
that
going to
was
fuck
like that
this
South
up
Park
less?
thing, like John Kerry and George Bush. It was like turd sandwich or giant douche.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. That's exactly what it is.
So we've been doing this for over 20 years. People.
It's like, do you want your pea covered in leaves or lettuce or what? It's all the same thing. And it's just cover it up, and it's frustrating. But
I know it'd be so nice to get like just one decent candidate, but
I want one candidate where I authentically think they want what's best for me, and I've never gotten that. And I also think that by nature, hyper-rich shouldn't be in these positions because, like I said, there's no way they can relate to the majority of the population. So how can you think you're justified in making laws about them when you can't even comprehend what we've gone through or how it affects us? And these people don't even try to. They don't come. Presidents, how many times have you seen these people go to very low-income, dangerous neighborhoods and like actually try to understand? They don't. They stay at the White House. They go to Mar-a-Lago. That is so pathetic. Any leader that actually wants what's best for their citizens will be with them. They'll be intermingling with them. They'll be amongst the people. But that doesn't happen. That
that's
never
like
happens.
a thing too, where like you'll see like certain, a good boss, they kind of stay in the mix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I had a boss, and he was kind of a boss. Like he was definitely very high. He had like high standards. He liked things done a certain way. But like he could get in the mix and still do it just as good as everybody working.
Well, it's a political.
He would sometimes. Like so sometimes he'd jump in the kitchen. Sometimes he'd jump on the floor of the bar. And it's like he could still like get himself in the grit, and so it kind of like showed you like he's leading by example. I mean, I think some people disliked him because he was kind of a type of boss, like he had an ego and everything had to be done a certain way. And, I'm sure people get jealous of, he's going on another vacation, like stuff like that. But he could still get in there and do it better than most people. Yeah. So it's like he's still in the mix. It's like it kind of shows people like, hey, I can still get in here. And you have to do that. That's going to keep you aware of what's even going on in your restaurant. So
and
the same thing.
Relationships with your followers.
Yes. You're going to build those.
It's that follower versus or leader versus boss dynamic. You've probably seen those old political cartoon where it's like the boss is on the sled whipping the runners, and then the leader is down with them.
He's pulling. He's the first guy in line.
That's what it's supposed to be, because they're supposed to be one of us. The leader is one of us. They are selfless. They are one of us.
They should have their sleeves rolled up, working.
Yes,
right
they
alongside.
should. If they really wanted what's done, and I think a leader who truly wanted what's best would be with us, working hard all the time. But you see these guys going to play golf all day while people are dying, and I think that's just repulsive. Because if you truly, I personally would feel so guilty indulging while my followers suffered. I would think about it all day. It would haunt me. I would be unable to pleasure myself and indulge.
They're like, I'm just gonna go put a few. I'm going to go put a few balls in some holes. And
it was recently with Biden where they said all this stuff is going on across the country, and they said that he went on a vacation. I'm like, you are a pathetic,
That was really bad, dude. That was really He is really bad. Just like people that hate Trump, like, no offense, Biden is very, very bad as well.
They both suck. They're both, God.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I digress.
I mean, he is so old.
He shouldn't be.
Both he was like the guy behind that crime bill, too, So he was like a shitty guy even back then.
I have a big hard time with people being in a presidential position who were alive when like prohibition and women's rights weren't allowed. Like you are tainted by definition. You grew up in a situation where people didn't have rights. You are proven to think, predisposed to think.
Yeah, well, now he's really slipping because of his age.
Yeah,
like the dementia's gotten worse.
Like Trump's holding himself together a little bit better than.
Well, he definitely is mentally. Yeah. That guy is sound. Whether you like him or not, he's quick-witted. Yeah. I mean, he still does zingers that are like comedian
level.
He's
dumb, but he's quick.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But like mentally on the ball, as far as like he could hit something comedically timed, like, and it's like kills, Yeah,
not slowing down.
Right. So like he's not like I don't know where I am. Yeah. He's not like that. You might not like what he's thinking or doing, but he's like still mentally sound.
I guess that's a good perk.
Right. But I think he might be on some Ozempic or some shit too. He's looking leaner. Like they're all hopped up on shit.
Mental health is on a decline. The leaders aren't absent.
Dude, they're putting these like they got to be putting like even Biden's got to be on some shit like just to keep him going.
Probably on all kinds of dementia medication or whatever else. With the money that they have access to, it's probably a science project at this point.
Oh my God, dude!
They do whatever they want to those people.
So I wonder what's gonna happen though. They might switch him out.
No, I mean the election. He's running out soon, right?
Yeah, they got to put somebody else.
He's not getting reelected.
He couldn't. He's too old.
He's too old. He's done a bad job.
So I wonder who it's gonna be.
I don't know. There's a few.
A lot of rumors.
Like
Obama.
So far, Trump's not removed from the ballot, which I think is interesting when you are convicted of fraud and treason. Well, not convicted of the treason and fraud yet. Sorry, but
if it isn't for those things, it's going to be him, and it's going to be him versus who do you think?
Vic Ramaswamy is looking pretty good. He's the guy I'm liking, honestly.
Oh, Vivek Ramaswamy, I am 100%.
I guess I don't think he'll win because he's a third party, but
I don't agree with everything he says, but I really like that guy. He's so young and so intelligent.
He's the one who gives me the best vibe of this guy actually cares about me. The other people don't.
And his thing is, too, he doesn't have the donor class thing hanging over his head.
Which is good.
He's a billionaire himself or whatever.
Good.
So he's not like beholden to any of these super PAC money.
Yeah.
So that's a guy like, but he has issues. There's things that I disagree with him on, but because he's young and he's like intelligent, I would still rather have him than anybody else.
Yeah, I think we need a change.
Which I don't think he would make it because obviously like they're gonna go with Trump.
The rich white people in power aren't gonna let this guy come to power.
But dude,
there's way too many.
Vivek is the man. I fucking love listening to that guy. I watch him on so many podcasts.
All it takes is some empty threats by some billionaire companies for these guys to step down and things to happen.
But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be like on the Democrat side, Gavin Newsom or they say Michelle Obama possibly.
She might actually, and I think she might do a good job. She'll definitely do a better job than the last two clowns.
She's definitely younger.
And I definitely think we would benefit from having a woman in power. Not saying for the biggest reason is because what we've been doing clearly isn't working. So we need to swing the pendulum the other way around. Men, we're fucking it up. Every single one.
It'd be cool the first woman president, the same way I felt when we had Obama as the first African American.
It would be great if she was the first female president was also of color. That would be fucking awesome. It would be cool if she instead of Obama or Barack was, so she was a woman and the first of color. That would be really cool. But
we were not even there yet though then.
Yeah, culturally it's not.
I think we could handle it now, but
yeah. I think that women leading the country is honestly the future of us, because if you look at survival response discipline is the hardware that men were on got us to this point in evolution, but it's not carrying us further. So I think we need to release the reins. Let women take control. I
have two friends who, like, for a while, I don't know if they're still going to do this, but like they have this rule, like they're only voting for vaginas. For a while,
I would support that.
Fully. Yeah, absolutely. It's my friends, my wrestling promoter and his wife. Yeah, they're like they're like. Because I think they did actually vote for Hillary back in the day, which now I'm not so sure that
not a good decision.
They definitely don't like her now that they've seen more things, you know.
Evil.
Right? They've seen. I think they might have changed their opinion, but back then they didn't know about a lot of that stuff, you know. So like,
yeah.
But anyway, so their rule is like only voting for vaginas. I'm like, okay.
Saying when choosing between two evils, choose the one you've never tried before.
Right.
If we're going to choose between piss and shit, I'm going to try a different kind. I'm going to try a different one, and hopefully it's better.
I mean, someday there's got to be a first female president.
There will be, and I think it'll be incredible for our nation because by nature, women are less aggressive and trigger happy, and I think that's the biggest problem is all the men in power always want to fucking fight over everything. Nobody ever wants to make amends. Nobody ever wants to be peaceful, and I think that women are just by nature more nurturing and more willing to do these things. And everybody knows that testosterone is linked to aggression. Like, this is factual. I don't. Nobody can get offended by this. Men are naturally just prone to be more aggressive.
Well, we're talking about data again.
Yeah, like this is a fact. So I'm sure that someone's going to be like, oh, I'm a man and I'm not aggressive. I'm not saying that.
Well, you probably have low test, bro. Get it checked out.
Yeah, or you're just not an aggressive person either way.
Right.
You know, there's exceptions to everything. But in general, women are more nurturing.
Right. Anytime we make generalizations, we're talking about Like, there's always outliers.
You'll always get somebody to complain.
Because people are always like, ooh, it's like, yes, we know, but that's called an outlier. Yeah. So we're talking about the majority is this way. And so you can make, and we know generalizations aren't true. They're just a generalization.
Yeah, that's what they are.
But you're saying in the majority, this is basically what
most
it
likely.
Is. Most likely. Yeah.
So, but I think women will have a great perspective, and I really look forward to seeing what that'll do for our country. Because same thing with low income is I
could see that happening right now.
I could see it.
I could see Michelle Obama.
I can definitely see it because I think that there's a lot of women out there that must have great ideas and ingenuities, much like people in impoverished countries and cities. There's probably so many good ideas that have gone to the wayside because they just didn't have that access to get their message and their views out.
Right.
You know, quote reads something about how all the greatest dreams and inventions are in the graveyard. There's so many people just never had the opportunity. And if you mean to tell me that all the great ideas in the world and leaderships will come from men, that's bullshit. Like, we've never had a female leader. Like, we got to try it.
I was thinking the coolest thing would be like the first leader without a super PAC. Or like the first leader who's poor.
I was going to say the same thing. That's my dream. The first low income, or even middle class.
So even taking all of like sex, race, anything else out of it, but just the first low income president. Like, that couldn't even happen, really, could it?
It wouldn't happen because rich people don't like poor people, and they don't want poor people in power because they don't want them to ascend to their level. I'm not saying all rich people, another blanket statement. I'm saying the corrupt.
Oh, no, I think it's shitty to say all rich people are assholes, too.
Which I'll say that I've had that bias that was given to me by
I used to be like that.
And I still kind of am. Like, I will admit my first defense when I see somebody with more money than me is to get offended. But I know that that is not their fault.
I was raised pretty blue collar, and I think I did that, too, where I would, and now I do, you got to think about it this way, too. I'm like, wait, how many poor assholes do I know?
Yeah, you probably know a lot. Poor assholes.
Yeah, I'm like, so that doesn't mean every rich person's an asshole. And if like being rich means you're an asshole, being poor means you're not, I'm like, that's definitely not true because I'm around poor people all the time, and a lot of them are fucking assholes. So it's like that's definitely not a good metric.
Yeah. I think thinking by default that rich people are bad or pigs that's a weakness in the self. That is a projection, and I'm a victim of that. I'm working on that right now, where I tell myself affirmations where like being wealthy is okay.
Well, that's what we have to do if you want to do it.
If you want to do it, exactly. Because it's a limiting belief. If you are somebody who subconsciously hates rich people, you will, whether you believe it or not, keep yourself poor unwillingly. And this is what a lot of mental health coaching and authenticity coaching is about, is finding your limiting beliefs and attacking them. Because everything you want to do that you're failing to do, there's a limiting belief that is stopping you from doing that. You just need to find out what it is. Or even
like you do that with somebody like that's achieved this goal that you want to achieve, and you're like, but everybody that achieves that goal is bad. Then you're going to subconsciously never actually achieve it. You're not, it's like...
But you'll never recognize that as a definition of subconscious, but people don't like to accept that the subconscious has more power over them than they think they do.
It fucks you over.
Everybody listening probably thinks they are in full control, but maybe one out of you are, if that. The
shadow self, dude.
That is it. The shadow self is these limiting beliefs.
That's one thing I like.
You know a lot about this, actually.
Well, I think the cool thing about mushrooms, one of them, is it can show you the shadow self a little bit.
It does. That's what you're talking about earlier.
So even those bad trips are kind of good.
Bad trips are all good trips.
Yeah.
That's people being exposed to the source and not being able to handle that knowledge and that power, and their ego says no.
So it's like being able to look at the negative parts of yourself,
and you have to be
ready. Be okay with them, and learn how to actually implement them to help you in a certain sort of sense. Because if you're not aware of them, they're going to be in control.
They always will be, and you have to be mentally ready to be you have to be open to receiving this knowledge and not being defensive, and that's why. I think but they say you can only operate X% of your brain. That's a handicap because humans can't handle it all.
No, you just
can't handle the truth. I think I said that last podcast.
It's all under there, dude.
And that's why this enlightenment stuff is hard and people have bad trips, is because it's too much. You can't handle that amount of information and insight, and that's why we're stuck in this, handicapped form. That is lesser than, but we're not able to.
And then people that do believe. That's why they say delusion is slightly okay if you're trying to accomplish something, because it kind of opens you up to well, I can do this. Look at a guy like Kanye. So his delusion was so great that he's walking into places saying I'm going to be the biggest rapper of all time, and people are laughing at him, but his belief in himself was so strong that he made it happen. But now it's in a position where it's hurting him.
Yeah, it's toxic.
It's hurting him at this point, At that point. So it was so good that it got him to where he needed to be, but now it's he still can't shut it off even though he is successful. Yeah. And so he thinks he's a god, and he thinks that, and now it's to a point where it's almost hurting him. But it's an interesting case study.
Yeah.
That's because he believes in himself, so he was able to make the things happen he said he was going to make happen.
Yeah.
So it's a case if you don't believe it, you're definitely not going to make it happen.
Yeah, you have to believe you can succeed to succeed.
So I think the goal is having a temper on it, having a great belief in yourself, but also a little bit of realism to keep it in check. The humbleness.
You need to believe you're powerful, but the humbleness to believe that you're not better than anybody else, or
I'm not the shit. I'm getting too big.
I think that we are all God. Kanye West, sure, you are God, but you are not better than anybody else, because everybody is that way.
Everybody's
we are
God.
All powerful, and anybody who thinks they are better than anybody else is inferior.
God is the universe. The universe is everything. We're all part of the universe.
So.
We're all connected.
I fully believe that, and people just don't want to accept that, honestly.
So what do you think about the AI stuff that's coming and?
Hot take, I think AI is good and is not.
Yeah, let's hear what you think about that.
Well, by definition, and any robotics majors can correct me, is if you want self-learning AI to do something bad and overturn, you have to kind of program this capability
into it.
There's some way that they could figure that out, but people say, the argument will be, if it's self-learning, it can, and it's smart enough, it could figure that way out. But I don't think that's how it works. Something has to have a function. It can't just I don't know, a door can't just fold in on itself. It doesn't do that.
No.
But people watch Terminator and they think all AI is bad. But there's a lot of AI in your life that, first of all, you don't even recognize is on. And AI will allow humans so much freedom because it will be able to do things that we can't and things that aren't safe for us. And it will free us up to level up our consciousness. If we have AI doing all of our mundane jobs, what do you think we can think of?
Well, and they might even be able to solve some of our problems by taking out the human
filter.
Bias.
Yes.
So logically, if we want to feed everybody and do it ethically and hurt the least amount of animals and this is what we would have to do, compute there.
Yeah,
and we're damn, we've never thought of that. That's perfect.
And it's unbiased. There isn't that one politician who goes, this might be bad for the pollution and the environment, but I would lose a lot of money, which is what fucking happens.
100%.
It's what happens, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, that happens every day, dude.
If you take money so your citizens can suffer from that, you are not good.
It's just good. Somebody that pushes a certain drug because it's just the drug that's popular.
Yeah, and they make
whether or not, like, if you go into a place and you've only had a 45-minute conversation with the doctor and you're walking out with a prescription, how much did they really get to know you?
I've been through the medical industry.
Right, and you should have more, like, take time to learn what they actually need versus.
They don't care.
But if I'm like a doctor and it's like, well, you know, my higher ups are telling me this is the hot new thing. Why don't you try this? But it's like, did you really put much thought into that, or was it just the thing that was there?
Yep.
That you kind of like, this is the new drug. Well, here, try that.
That's what I had a lot when I first started my mental health world was 2016, and a little vulnerable as I was hospitalized. I was self-harming, and I went to the hospital because my wound wouldn't close, and they insisted that I stayed. Yep. After that, I was there for a week inside of a mental ward full of people that were significantly more unwell than I was. But either way, they referred me to a psychiatrist who was. The lobby was packed every session. He'd see me late and then see me for 10 minutes, and then I was on 4 or 5 medications. And I come to find in the future that not the diagnosis I had, and like these medications put me into what I interpret as a psychosis. I remember having logs of my journals, and I'm like, this is the writings of somebody who is delirious. Like, this is like genuine psychosis, and it was hard for me to see that because I'm like, at the time it felt so real.
Right.
But it was just all these drugs this man was putting into me, and it's just gross negligence because he never asked me what I thought. And I offered my opinion, and I was always, oh, well, we'll try this because I know better than you. And I'm like, this is my body. I'm experiencing this. You see me for 10 minutes a day, and then you go home and do whatever the hell you do. But they're the professionals, so they must know more than me, than my own body. And then I get a diagnosis later where one medication at like a third of the dose is enough to control all my symptoms, and I was right. I left a review on these people's page last year. It's Connecticut Behavioral Health Association in Connecticut.
It's dangerous thinking you know better than people.
Of course, and that's that guy's ego. He thinks I went to school, I'm smarter than this guy. I know more than he does. Like, okay, man.
About his own body.
You might be more likely to know more than me about but that doesn't mean that's the absolute. And
well, that's kind of like even with like my clients, if they're having any kind of like thing where like I might think like, don't be a pussy, you fucking do that. You know, like, what are you talking about? Because that's what I'll do to myself. But like, if they say any little thing, I'll be like, are you okay? You know, like, I'm like, sit down, don't push it. If there's, are you lightheaded?
Yeah.
Whereas like me, if I was like whining, I'd be like, come on, bitch, get through it. You know, so that's what I'd say to myself. But I wouldn't say that to my client because like, I don't know their body.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're experiencing. So like, if they're doing something and they feel lightheaded, I could perceive it as like, oh, they're just being a pussy. They're tired and they don't want to do it. It's like, no, what if they're feeling something that's I can't tell? It's their body. I'm going to listen to them.
Yeah, it's easier to be less biased when it's with somebody else.
Right, right.
Your brain will convince you of all kinds of things.
Right.
It'll tell you things are okay. And, oh, it's you're a little sore. Your shoulder hurts, but it's okay because you did this, and then you blow your rotator cuff. You know, your body, your mind will defend yourself in every single way. It'll convince you that your shortcomings are fine, your indulgences are fine, and that is not you.
Right. It goes to indulgences too, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It'll be like, it's okay. You underate a little bit today, so it's okay for you to eat this. And then that just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't do as bad as that guy.
And those thoughts aren't.
You can look at somebody else like, well, I'm bad, but not like that.
Yeah,
That's worse.
I don't smoke weed that
At least
much.
I'm better than him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just your ego justifying why you're doing what you're doing because it's hard to confront that maybe you are flawed. But it'll fight to preserve you and your morals at any standard.
Right. So back to the AI thing quick. Agree with you what you just said, but just had another thought pop in. So like, I always think best case scenario is like, you're right. It like actually makes life way better. Maybe we do get closer to this like almost utopian thing. And then like, maybe we're on some kind of UBI thing and like nobody really has jobs anymore except for things like probably podcasts and like entertainment based and
creation.
Like, the creative type of jobs, because all the regular jobs are being done by like
it's
AI.
A hierarchy of needs.
So that's my worry is like displacing people's jobs. What do we replace that with? I would say we'd almost have to go to some UBI type of thing because I think the future people are going to be working less and less.
I think so.
Things are going to be more automated. But then in that, how do we maintain humans having a purpose?
Yeah.
So that's the important thing is we have to find next. Like if our jobs aren't going to fulfill us, if our jobs aren't what's going to be the next thing? Because if we're all randomly out there and everything's being done for us and we feel like, well, I don't even have a place now because I used to do this and now this thing does it for me. So we're going to have to figure out like what purpose we have after the AI revolution.
That's a good argument. I do accept that. That's a good argument.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying like I think it's going to happen whether we want it to or not. I do think you're right. I think the AI thing's coming. I think the future in 5 years is going to look way crazier than even we could
We're on
possibly
the edge for sure.
fathom right now. But maybe it's going to be a great thing. Maybe then people are opened up to like have more experiences with each other, live more authentic lives, do more creative things. Like, I'm just like, I wonder, like, I hope it goes in a positive way.
I see what you're
Not
saying.
based on like the AI turning into a robot, but I'm saying like,
It could be bad for mental health as a whole.
Right.
To take away people's discipline and practice.
right, as life's gotten easier and
Yeah.
easier, it seems that we've gotten more and more depressed.
Of course. There's
So
a
if
lot
we
of
make it
reasons.
even easier, what the hell are we going to do?
And
you know?
idle hands is the devil's play tool. When you have free time, you're much more likely to go. So
Oh,
you got to fill
yeah.
it somehow. So that is an adequate concern for AI.
Oh, think how many people would commit crimes if they weren't working or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
we'll have
know,
to figure
like-
that out somehow. I'm hoping by that time society has evolved where the collective general view is of authenticity and
It could
positivity
be
and
awesome.
peace. And if it is, then we'll be okay because everybody will be on the same page. That like, hey, we got free time. I have to override my stress response, be more than an animal. Let's find things that I love and fulfill me.
Yeah.
That's a long ways from now, I think.
Well, like you said, most people are not in that mindset.
Most people aren't. Most people are NPCs, man.
that I'm more than an animal, you know.
Yeah,
like-
but that's okay. If you're living a happy, fulfilled life, that's okay. But I think a lot of people that live that way don't live fulfilled lives, and that's why I don't like it.
I
but-
agree.
And some people's purposes to live a fulfilled life is not as, quote, significant than yours. Some people's fulfilling life is to be a mother and work a 9 to 5 and be that.
Oh yeah, and they
And
might
that is
just
fantastic. I'm
Right.
not lumping all these people into a group, but if you are somebody who's not living your authentic self, then
Right.
you're in trouble.
I think there's some people that are happy with just this, and this is it. Yeah, they're fine. There's some people that need this to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's weird.
There's
It's
a
all
place for
different.
everybody.
and it's different for everybody. I feel like, yeah.
There's a place for everybody, and everybody will end up where they're supposed to be, because there's people of different skill levels, people of different interests, and they'll get to where they want to be.
Sometimes I even think that like life will make you do the thing you're meant to do.
Yes.
Like you can even try. You can even try to kind of fuck it up, or go off of it, or against it, and somehow life will be like, no, get fucking
It'll
back on
course
that
correct.
path because I'm putting you there. And somehow you find yourself back on your correct path, even if you were trying to slough off your responsibility.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like maybe you like run from it for a little bit, even though you know it's kind of your path, but you're like, with the path comes more work, more responsibility. So you kind of like for a while, you're kind of like maybe hiding from it, running from it. It seems like life never quite lets it. It's always going to be like, no, you got to go back to that thing. That's the thing I need you to be doing.
Yep.
And I don't know what that is. That's the universe or God or whatever.
Yeah, someone looking out for us. They say that you will find your destiny on the path you took to avoid it. And
That's it,
that's
dude.
it.
Yes.
That's me tearing my shoulder. So whenever anything bad happens, the idea of faith, religion, everything happens for a reason is that anything that bad that happens to you is to set you up for something. You
Right.
just have to ask why. So I got hurt. I cried for a while. I was suicidal. And then I asked myself, what is this setting me up to do and what is this stopping me from doing? Because it happened for a reason. Anything that bad that happens to you, no matter how traumatic, happened for a reason. Just
Right.
ask yourself objectively, what is this setting me up for?
Yeah.
And for me, I realized it's setting me up to get in touch with my hobbies, to connect with my friends more, to step away from my ego, to explore new, you know what I mean?
Things that
there
you were
were so
maybe
many
not
good
doing.
things that I couldn't do because I was lifting so much, and for negative reasons. I wasn't even enjoying it. I was hating it, and I know that if I continued lifting, I would have not achieved my goals because I was in it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And then I would have lived a life unfulfilled and unhappy.
You were missing out on all these other
Missing out
things.
on all these things, chasing goals I would never achieve. As I got hurt, I realized I didn't have a chance in beating these guys. John Hack has a 2,300 total at 198. He benches 600 fucking pounds full power. I have no chance.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
okay. That's just not for me. I have things he doesn't. He has things that I don't. I have
Right.
skills he doesn't. That's okay. That's his thing, and I love that for him, and I really admire that. It's just not my path, and that's okay.
Right.
So it pulled me away from that ego of it. So like, it all happens for a reason. You just need to find out why, and that's what
Right.
you're talking about. Life will course correct you.
It does. It's
And
so crazy.
but some people, unfortunately, always just they go back, and
they
then
keep
die.
running from it until they're something
until
bad
something
happens.
bad happens. But so whenever anything bad happens in your life, just ask yourself, what is this setting me up for? And you'll find out.
That is the closest thing I think I can feel to religion.
Yep, it's faith.
Is that there is this thing that's always putting me back where I need to be.
Yep.
And it's a good thing. It's like it's the good path that I know is the right one.
It's a good thing.
And it's just weird, dude, if
Yeah,
you
it's
think
crazy.
about that.
It
That
feels
gives
so
me kind of
surreal.
chills.
You ever seen
yeah.
the Truman Show where he finds out everyone's watching him and he's like, that's how it feels sometimes where I'm like, damn, there's beings looking after me. I'm
That's-
special.
I know, dude.
I get all
It's-
giddy, but it's true. There's something.
There
who's
is
looking out for
something.
all
There
of
is
us.
something, man.
And it's
Yeah.
your attitude that determines what course it takes. And if the world manifests in the way that you believe, believing that there is no fate or no, things like that, and there's no power, then the world is going to manifest in that way. So if you have a belief where everything's bad, life is bad, there's no God, it's going to present that way to you because the world is a reflection. And then you get stuck in that cycle because then you're confirmed in your belief, and then you believe it again. And all it takes is for you to just change your mind. So I have a few friends that are really close to me that everything is, oh man, my life sucks, this, and that. I'm like, it's that way because you think that way.
And it's going to be repetitive.
And people don't like this answer is depression is all in your head, and you can just think your way out of it. It's your thoughts, right?
Yeah, people do not like
people don't like that. But me as somebody who was in a mental ward, I have cut marks all up my arm. I fucking understand. Yep. It does change. It gets better, and it literally is all in your head because it's a thought. Like if you were depressed right now and I'm looking at you, I wouldn't be able to tell the otherwise. So that shows that it's not real. It's in there, and you have the power to change it. But people don't like that answer either because then if they were to say I'm in power and I'm struggling, then it's my fault.
Right.
People don't like to know that their mental health could be partially their responsibility. Like they're playing a part in it. You are playing a part in your own unhappiness. You are the conductor of this train, and you are running your life, and you can change it.
Well, and then there's some people that get addicted to that because that is the only identity that they know themselves as. So if you kind of like take that away and like, what, I'm just a happy person, that's fucking lame.
And also like that is
like, I don't want to be a happy person. I'm used to being this like struggling, like dark, twisted, and it's like, that's me, man. I'm just how I am. And it's like, so you take that away. And then they're like, shit, well, I don't have anything else. I better go back to that.
So we're repetitive creatures. We are so likely to do the same thing we did next tomorrow as long as we didn't die, regardless of if it's good or not. So that's
like you're saying the level, too, of like being okay with getting more successful. So like I don't like successful people, so I'm never going to, it's like letting yourself be okay because a lot of times you'll just end up right back where you were.
You will. You have to accept.
If you're not you have to keep opening yourself up to new experience, to new actually I do deserve this and I can handle this and I can elevate to this level. You know what I mean? Like things like that.
Yeah, and people in depressive states have a hard time with those thoughts because let's say, for example, you're really depressed and then you accept that, yes, I'm powerful and omnipotent, but I'm failing. It makes you feel bad. So they self-deprecate. They say things that confirm in their ego that they're nothing so that they don't feel bad for not being their authentic self. They're belittling themselves as a self-defense.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think you're great, you don't need an obligation to be great.
Right.
And that's how the ego defends itself. But people, you tell that to someone who's depressed and they're like, no, man. It's all I was born this way. And I'm like, sure, you were probably born with a difficulty, but doesn't mean you're done.
No, you always have a choice.
You are not done. There's always a choice. And I don't believe that anybody's destiny is unhappiness. Not a single person in this world. And nobody's just misery and suffering. So if you just become your authentic self and work towards these things and become accountable, you will be happy.
You would be happy.
You will be fulfilled.
Yep.
It's just not going to be easy, and you have to unlearn a lot of things.
It's always cool watching somebody actually find the thing that's their thing.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, that makes sense.
It's empowering because that's like something you can do. It's an example. It's beautiful.
Like, man, it's like weird. It's like I can't remember what show I was watching, but it's like the guy who's a super unhappy dad gets divorced and all that, and then he realizes he really likes cooking, and like that's his thing. And all of a sudden, like he finds joy in like, oh, there's this thing, and like he's a really good cook. And it's like, shit, that was all that was missing,
Like, he could have had it the whole time and been fulfilled.
Right. Just one weird thing.
But maybe he wasn't ready for it. He had to go through that adversity to find where he was going to
figure it out.
And there's a plan out there. It's not according to your plan, but it's going to plan,
Oh, man.
That's when I tell to people when I have clients that are facing adversity, I say, like, everything's okay. It's all going to plan. It might not be your plan, but it's the plan. Like, it's a good one.
Well, that's like the, when you were talking about that, that's the Jocko Willink thing. So, like, he has this thing like, what happened? Good. He just says good.
Good.
Because then that's how you face yourself to find the good parts of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, oh, shit, this happened to me. Good. Now I can do this. Or, like, I can't remember how he said it, but it's so empowering because it's like finding the good in every, like you said, this happened to you for a reason to show you this. It's like, oh, my wife divorced me. Good. Now, how do you turn that into good?
Yeah, why? Exactly.
Well, that might make you face like the reasons. Maybe you had some part in it. Maybe you needed to look good. Now I can face the shit that I was doing that caused it.
Yeah.
Good. Now I can deal with my shit.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
It's like,
Yeah, I like that a lot because it's all for your benefit. Everything happens to you for your benefit. I know. One thing I think about is like
the hard stuff.
Levels of consciousness. So like our higher powers, gods are above us. We're above like base animals like dogs. You have a dog that wants chocolate and you say no. It gets woe is me. My owner hates me. It can't comprehend that it's going to cause it digestive issues.
Yeah, we love you. That's why we're not giving.
We have a consciousness level above animals. Now look above us.
Right.
The things that we think, like we're like, oh, woe is me, master's taking away my chocolate. I don't get the girl that I want. I didn't get the job I want. He's saying, if you took this, you would suffer. But I just know better, but you can't comprehend.
Yeah.
We can't comprehend that plan, so we can't even fathom to ask the questions and understand why. We just have to have trust and faith that there's a reason why.
There's a reason why.
There's
also the thing, like, you might want something and then you don't really actually want it. Like, people will look at somebody and they're like, man, I want that. But then they don't realize all the stuff that comes with having that.
Or they could have it for the wrong reasons, which means they don't want it. Like me, I wanted to be a powerlifting star, but not because I wanted to do it, because I wanted to be the center of attention. That's not good.
Right.
So that's a fault. I mean, I guess I still want to do it just because it would be fun. But either way, that goal was driven by narcissism, honestly. And I'm okay to admit that.
We have to look at that part of ourselves for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. We're all like anybody that's a bodybuilder. Yeah, you're definitely.
We attract that type of
There's
person.
something narcissistic.
And we as humans, by default, are we self-preserve, and that is what narcissism essentially is.
I'd say humans are sort of narcissistic in general.
We are, absolutely. I mean, we had to be that.
But when you see like real narcissism, dude, that is some scary shit. Like
Donald J. Trump,
like some really toxic shit. Yeah.
That I will do what I want regardless of how it affects anybody else.
Yeah, we had this.
Man.
Yeah, I had a situation with somebody. I'm not going to talk about it on air, but man, I was like, well, it was it wasn't me directly, but it was somebody else watching it happen to them. And I was like, wow, now I really know what manipulative narcissism looks like. I thought I knew what it was like, but even like the base levels of it, like certain people in, couples, they'll kind of manipulate each other. Yeah. Humans do that. They have a like even kids start doing it at a young age, like to get the cookie, oh, I'll cry, but when you see like the real thing, it's like my mind was blown, dude. Like,
you're stunned. Like, is this real?
I was like, this poor guy went through all that. Like,
it's hard to believe that people you're like, is this a TV show that somebody actually behaves this way?
Right.
But there's people out there like that.
There really are. It was like a TV show. I was like, never seen anything like that in my life.
That's why we got to be the other end to even this ratio out to average the population down.
Right, so just trying to be self-aware and work on, like you said, like stuff like even like you looking at somebody getting jealous, but then realizing that's a bad quality and then instead deciding to be inspired by it versus jealous of it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff we got to do.
Yeah.
So that's like you facing your shadow self, learning, being like, no, instead I'm going to think like this. That's important, I think.
I think so. That's the essentials of all.
So like knowing that humans are capable of shittiness, but deciding to not go with the shittiness.
Which is interesting because a lot of that, like, it's the basis of what Christianity is like accepting that humans are flawed, but there's a plan and we have to do our best. And as long as you are authentic and you truly apologize or are forgiving for, what's the word I'm looking for? Forgetful of your sins and are trying to do better and are accountable, then it's going to work out,
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of my beliefs are. I have a lot of beliefs about spirituality that are coincide with Christianity and some other religions. Yeah. Because they do have a lot of good points.
I think so too. Well, the discipline thing, wanting hedonism, but not doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's what I posted about that in Threads. The 7 Sins, I think, was an instruction book to teach us how to override our stress response. I think that was our higher power saying, like, this is how you evolve. Just do this. And which is interesting because most of civilization followed those rules, in particular Christianity.
Well, it is funny how hedonism just leads to unhappiness.
It leads to unhappiness.
Like you think it's going to be fun.
It is at the time.
Because it's fun in the moment.
Yeah.
But it's always fun up front, and then it leads to negative things down the line.
All those indulgences.
Whereas discipline's not fun in the moment, but leads to great joy in the long run.
Delayed gratification.
So there's such a juxtaposition of those two things, like discipline versus hedonism. Yeah. They're almost like a mirror of each other.
They are. They're two hands of the same coin. And when we evolved as a species, we didn't have that delayed gratification. It wasn't necessary. It was all about right now. How do I survive now? Yeah. And now we're at a point now where none of us are in a threat of our safety on a daily basis. Like for the most part,
like something randomly could happen.
Yeah. So your whole operating system is so different now. Now I can worry about down the road, and now you're operating on the software that always wants now. I want to eat now. I want sex now. I want to sleep now. I don't want to go to the gym now. Your body doesn't understand what delayed gratification is, and that's why people say like, oh, I don't feel it going to the gym. I don't do this.
It wants now.
Listen, your body doesn't understand what it means to in a week from now I'll feel better.
So you have to override it with your brain.
You have to tell it just no, trust me, listen to me, and that's what discipline is.
That's the whole trust the process thing.
Yeah, it's a trust the process thing for sure.
Yeah, and discipline, 100%.
Yeah, it's all part of it. So yeah, our body does not know.
So let's go through a rundown of like in the next. So you're healing up now. You're gonna start lifting. What's your plans for the next few months here? What's gonna go on?
So for the next few months, I'm told in 4 weeks from now, I will be roughly able to bench a barbell. So I'm gonna be working on that. I've been able to dumbbell press like bench press like
so slowly
5 pounds,
build
10
back.
pounds. No pain. It feels good. My shoulder hurts less than before the surgery. So like that's fucking incredible. So I'm going to slowly work myself in. My plan is now to train legs once a week and like everybody wants and just dabble my feet in, but we'll see how that goes. I have no intentions of gunning it with the weight. I've already lost about a year of my career as a lifter because I got hurt a year ago, and I'm not going to sacrifice any more further just to brush myself by a week.
Slow and steady back. Yeah.
Slow and steady, and as I said before, I don't even know if my goals align with that anymore. I don't know if I really have much intention to compete, so what's the rush if I'm just doing it for me? But it's just an interesting paradox that me not wanting to compete is what's actually going to set me up to have my best chance at doing it, you know? Like, the harder I tried to be what I wanted to be, the further it pulled away from me. And I think that's
the chasing
everything
something.
in life works like that. The harder you try to push things or pull things to you.
Like, if you want a girl, but you overdo it, you push her away. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's
There
the
was
power attractive of the universe.
There's a monk in Germany named Shohei Ni, and he does
law of attraction.
He does this thing where he holds up his rosaries and he says, if you pull things close to you, eventually, you know, when you let go, they get further away from you because the pendulums, and the inverse is if you push something away, eventually it'll come closer.
You got to give
you.
things space to breathe.
You have to accept things as they are and accept that things happen for a reason and not try to control things too much. So, you know, the universe is always looking out for you. You don't have to control anything. Just hold on for the ride.
Yep.
Keep your hands and
just work hard
inside the vehicle at all times.
Yeah, man. Well, I think actually that's
for a while.
Yeah, that's a good spot to stop it. I think,
All right.
man. I mean, we've had longer ones, and we will again.
Yeah.
But I think this is good for the first one back. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And on a good note, I think things went well.
Oh yeah, this was awesome, dude. I really appreciate it. It was good to catch up with you. Is there anything you want to give a shout out to?
I want to say shout out to my future home, Elevar Fitness in Bothell. They're opening up on the 4th.
That's a big thing, dude.
Anybody who's interested in this kind of environment, women, you are particularly welcome, and we will give you the best care that we can. And as a powerlifting background, I am able to give you that kind of training, that kind of strength basis without the pressure of the commonly associated intimidating male barbell environment. So any of you ladies, particularly older women, I have a specialty with getting you back your general function, your general health. If you want to climb the stairs again, you want to be able to squat down to the bottom grocery shelf again, come to Elevar. Let us elevate you.
Hell yeah.
Reach out to me.
That sounds awesome.
Otherwise, thank you to all the viewers, and I love you all.
Yes, thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next time. Zach, thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate it. And peace out, everybody.
Later.